You're listening to the Overcast. Sunshine on a cloudy day. Part of the Oversoul Gaming channel. Hello there, everyone, and welcome to the Overcast, your joke-making, fun-having pop culture podcast. I am your host, Justin, aka Oversoul.
And I am your co-host, Nick, aka the Gaming Fiend.
Oh, he did change it. Okay. Well, that's an official name change.
I was waiting for this episode.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense. All right. No longer the vaping fiend now. Officially the gaming fiend.
Yes.
A full. You gonna change it on all the socials too?
Give me 1 second.
No, I didn't. I don't know. I don't mean right now. I was just saying. In general, are you going to?
Oh yeah, I'm going to. Yeah, that's coming.
Okay. That way, people can still find you.
Yes.
Okay. Well. Yeah. Anyways, sunshine, cloudy days, and all that. Blah blah blah. So, yes. Yeah. We kind of threw off our normal intro there with the name change, but it's okay.
A little bit.
It has been cloudy days lately. It even snowed the other day. It didn't stick, thank God, but it snowed.
Snowed here too.
Yeah, it was interesting.
Yes.
It looked for a minute there like it was gonna get bad. Like, I was awake late at night. I looked out the window and I was like, oh, it looks like fucking Christmas in the sky. Like, this is coming down. But then I look outside at the ground and I'm like, oh, absolutely none of it is sticking. Except it's sticking on top of cars, but that's it. The ground is nothing but water. So, let's see here. But yeah, I'm actually kind of glad because I'm not ready. I'm not quite ready yet. Let Thanksgiving come and go, and then you can snow. All right? It's
yeah, right.
Just save it for the Christmas month. Yeah, speaking of, I don't really have much in the way of life updates right now, but I will by the time when we go to do our next episode, because by then, Thanksgiving will have come and gone, and I have a family Thanksgiving planned for the weekend after, next weekend, taking 2 days off work to go out of town. And
there you go.
And, yeah. My sister-in-law makes a really good cheesy potato casserole that I'm looking forward to.
Oh, nice. That sounds delicious.
And my mom always makes a corn pudding type deal. That's always really good, too.
I was going to say, my favorite Thanksgiving dish is green bean casserole.
And, of course, we always have that as well. The usuals.
So good.
The usuals are always there. The green bean casserole, the sweet potatoes, the stuffing, But we have a couple of dishes that we do. The cheesy potatoes are usually, she makes them with well, obviously there's cheese, but it's like sour cream, I think, in there.
Okay.
And the whole thing is topped with I want to say cornflakes that are baked on top of it. Yeah, it's and the corn pudding is kind of like a almost like a gelatiny type thing that's made with corn and that really thick sweet milk that comes in a can, the condensed stuff.
Yeah.
And it's really good stuff though. And I always make deviled eggs too because Ryan goes nuts for those things.
Those are my favorite. Oh my god.
Oh, you too, huh?
I love deviled eggs. I go nuts over that shit.
I have to make 2 cartons of eggs worth of deviled eggs or they won't last. That
sounds like Ryan.
Yeah. Yeah. And I got one of those we got one of those sampler trays ready to go too. We usually have appetizers sitting out while we wait for the food to cook.
Uh-huh.
And this year one of the ones I got is a tray that's got little little turkey bites that are like in the form of little Vienna sausages.
Nice.
Um, little cheese cubes, pretzels, apple slices, and grapes with a caramel dip in the middle.
Very nice. Oh,
Um,
that sounds
yeah.
yummy.
So,
Oh,
yeah, we tend to go all out on the food during Thanksgiving and Christmas. Usually, there's always all. I think last year I also made pickle roll ups. I won't be doing that this year, but I did last year. Those were really good. That's just when you get a a spear dill pickle and you take a piece of ham and you slather some cream cheese on that piece of ham, put the pickle in it, and roll it up.
see, the holidays are the times of year where it's almost a cardinal sin if you don't go all out on the food.
Right, right. Used to be you could buy pre-made pickle roll-ups in the deli section of many grocery stores, and I just don't see them anymore. You gotta make your
hmm
own now. Um, but probably for the better because they would probably cheaper to make just make them honestly.
Yeah, yeah.
um, so yeah, there's that. But I do have my usual quick SNL update, which is to say that pop singer Charlie XCX was the host and musical guest of the latest episode. It was pretty funny. I always love when they do celebrity impression skits, so the Wicked auditions was great.
Oh my god, I loved it. It was so fucking funny.
Dana Carvey did a spot on Al Pacino impression. Um,
Yeah, you did.
like the impressions aren't all always, not all of them are great, but a lot of them are pretty good.
hmm
Um, you know, um, and so I'm loving this Andy Samberg Lonely Island renaissance that we're getting out of this new SNL season, and
Yes.
this episode was no exception with another Lonely Island song featuring Charlie XCX called Here I Go, where the joke is that he's one of those like white Karens that calls the cops on everybody, but everyone he's calling the cops on are other white people.
Fucking what was it? What was it that you said? Was it Jake Peralta
J-
went from
yeah, Jake
Jake
Peralta.
Peralta went from being a cop to an old white guy calling the cops on people.
Yep, yep, yep. Yeah, that's another reason. I think it's a layered kind of meta joke because Andy Samberg
Mm-hmm.
played a cop on Brooklyn Nine-Nine, which is
So fucking
still,
funny.
in my opinion, one of the best TV comedies ever made. I still can't believe you haven't seen that show from start to finish. I am appalled.
I've been watching a few episodes here and there.
Okay, okay,
I'm liking what I'm seeing.
okay. Good, good. I bet you this Andy Samberg renaissance is probably what made you kind of want to check it out, huh?
Kinda, yeah, a little
Yeah,
bit.
he's making a comeback. He is. This has been his comeback season. It's crazy. Um, Dana Carvey too recently said that he's not going anywhere. He's pretty much sticking around for cameos all season of SNL.
I wish Mike Myers would do something.
Yeah,
Like they've got to do Wayne's World one more
they
time.
literally have Dana Carvey just kind of like sleeping in the back room, ready to go for any skit now, and they might as well call Mike Myers in to
Right.
do something.
Right.
You know,
Fucking Wayne's World, party on.
Maya Rudolph has,
Fucking love it.
since Kamala didn't win, Maya Rudolph has gone to being fabulous elsewhere. Um,
Yes.
and yeah, that woman adds definitely adds to anything she's in. Even like some of the stupidest comedy movies I've ever seen, the scenes with her are always great.
Oh, the two Grown Ups movies that she was in. She was in both the Adam Sandler Grown Ups films.
Or Bridesmaids
Yes.
with Kristen Wiig and Melissa
Uh
McCarthy
huh.
and all them.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Man,
funny.
I love watching SNL alumni go on to become like famous like actors in things, and it's crazy because the you see all these people look down so much on the current cast that they have because they aren't who they used to be. But then they all go on eventually to do things like look at how successful Andy Samberg has become. Bill Hader had his own
Exactly.
own show on HBO called Barry.
Yep.
Um, Bobby Moynihan has gone on to do numerous things since
Mm-hmm.
then.
Okay,
Kristen
speaking
Wiig
speaking
starred in
of
several movies.
Rob Schneider, another SNL alum,
Hmm.
has announced his 2025 tour date, and he's making a stop in Des Moines.
Right, and older people too, like Andy Samberg, Tim Meadows, or not Andy Samberg, Adam Sandler,
Adam
Tim
Sandler, yeah.
Meadows,
Mm-hmm.
David Spade, Chris
Mm-hmm.
Farley. You know,
Yes.
they all went on to do. Dan Aykroyd was a cast member, and Chevy Chase were
He was.
in the first season of the
Yeah.
show.
Mm-hmm.
They both were. Matter of fact, they're both characters in that documentary movie about the first night, leading up to the first episode.
Oh man, I want to see that movie.
Sorry, not
Sad.
document. If it not documentary, biopic. It's a biopic or
Yes,
whatever. But
I
yeah,
would I want to see it, and when it's available, when we have both seen it, I would like to do a spoiler cast episode.
ooh, okay, yeah, I'd be down. It'll probably be on Peacock eventually. I guarantee
Yeah.
anything.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, guaranteed. It's if the source material is on there, movie would follow.
That would make sense to me. It seems like the place it should be. But yeah, um,
Absolutely.
I'm glad you're enjoying what you've seen of the Brooklyn Nine-Nine so far. It only gets better. Boyle is one of the funniest characters on the show. He's so weird. One of the funniest lines I've ever heard in that show was there's an episode where Boyle's really sad about something. I think it like something between him and Gina didn't work out or something, but Andy comes up to him and he's like, "Hey buddy." He's like, "How you doing? I brought you your favorite soup, duck broth."
I just saw that episode.
Oh,
I
did you?
woke. Okay, so I admittedly I've been putting it on when I'm going to bed at night and
Fair enough.
waking up to it still playing, and that was one of the episodes. That was the episode that was playing when I woke up the next morning.
Also, for a show that is basically about cops, it's a police procedural comedy.
Yes.
It's also a very progressive, forward-thinking show that actually tackles a lot of like when the Black Lives Matter riots were happening. They did episodes about that surrounding it.
Ooh.
Like Terry Crews's character being both a cop and a black man had a lot of there's like a lot of like serious stuff that happens in some episodes. So it's not always comedy.
Right.
There's like they tackle some serious issues and there's some like
Mm-hmm.
legit like serious like situations like there's a whole story arc where Andy goes undercover for a while and then ends up in jail and has to survive in jail. It's like
Jeez.
a really yeah, so it does get serious sometimes. So, but it is mostly funny. And like I mean their police Captain Holt is an openly gay man, but there's a whole backstory about how it was really hard for him to even get that job being both black and gay.
Yeah.
So, you know, so they tackle a lot of social commentary in that show, which was another thing I appreciated. Ryan and Chris were huge fans. I think they've done several rewatches of it actually.
Nice.
Like they've watched the whole thing start to finish numerous times. Same for Bob's Burgers is another big one for them to put on rewatch as background noise. Um, so yeah, but yeah, glad you're enjoying that. Charlie XCX episode was great. Weekend update, hilarious like always. Andy Samberg being back and all that great stuff. Otherwise, not a whole lot. I've slowly made some more progress in the Clone Wars. That's about all I can say. Speaking of which, though, Star Wars Outlaws is getting an update that's going to remove Force stealth
Oh, nice.
as well as give a bunch of other updates to like you can carry two-handed weapons while climbing now and stuff like that. And other quality of life updates. So I rented the game from GameFly, but I was like, I wanted to keep it, but I'm like, I'm gonna wait for them to patch it and make it more. I'm gonna wait for them to fix a lot of the problems with it, and
Yeah,
it
makes
seems like
sense.
that's what they're doing now. So
Right.
I look forward to getting my hands on it again eventually after that. But anywho, besides all that, what is up with you? Anything new recently, and what are your Thanksgiving plans?
So, Thanksgiving plans. I've got my tickets. We've got our tickets for Wicked. We're going to go see Wicked in theaters. My daughter is going to Disney on Ice with Sarah's mom. Not gonna lie, I'm kind of jealous because it's been years since I've been to a Disney on Ice show, and I remember going to them growing up at the Metro Center in Rockford. They were always a fun time, but I'm also extremely excited to see Wicked. Um, it's confirmed that, well, obviously the movie's out now, but Kristen Chenoweth and Idina Menzel are both in the movie. The Broadway OG Glinda and Alphaba.
Right.
They have cameos in the film, and they're credited as uh, Mania superstars. Let's see what else is going on. Oh, I've been doing something that I should have been doing a long time ago. I I've been working on getting my driver's license.
Oh, you have an update to this because
I
this is an ongoing
do.
saga. We've talked about it before.
Yeah, we have, yes. But I've completed my driving lessons, and I have my appointment for my drive test at the Iowa DOT on December 11th.
Ooh, nice.
So,
Oh, we'll
and
get to hear by the next
for
episode how that went.
yes, yeah, we sure will. Because between from now until then, we're gonna try and get me driving as much as possible so that I am ready for when I take the drive test. And speaking of, Sarah just got a new car, new to her car. It's a 2023 Chevy Equinox.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I saw
Yeah.
the post on Facebook.
Yeah, and then once I have my license, I'll be driving the 2017 Malibu.
Okay, fair.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
I am
there's a lot of definitely a lot of benefit to come from that. I just hope at the
my
same
brother
time you're
my brother
prepared for the car
the
payments and
snow.
stuff like that.
Oh no, the 2017 Malibu is all paid off.
Oh, okay, well that's good.
Yeah, that's all paid off.
But what about insurance?
Insurance. I think Sarah is going to add me as an additional driver on her insurance.
Okay.
So
You'll
there is.
definitely want to be extra careful then, because if you fuck up, that hurts someone else's
It sure
uh,
does.
thing, not
Which
yours.
is why I wanna yeah, why I will get as much driving in as possible so that I'm ready for the drive test. And by the time I am ready before I but by the time I'm taking my drive test, I will be ready to be on the road by myself
Okay.
or with my daughter in the back seat.
Okay. Okay. Well, I look forward to hearing an update on that in the next one because, folks, the next episode after this one is going to be the week after the Game Awards because our next we won't be recording the next 2 weekends. It'll be the next one will be on the 14th.
Yes,
So, and that'll be our post Game Awards episode.
it
This is the
sure
pre one,
will.
but you already knew that from the title of the episode.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll be doing for the topic today our votes and predictions for this year's Game Awards.
Yas. But I had I had a funny interaction with a customer at work today. I
Oh,
was wearing my Iowa Wild military hat that they handed out at the November 16th game. It was that game they were the Iowa Arrows. They were going back to their roots cuz that was the name of the team when Iowa first picked up a hockey team. So, but back to the story. Uh I had a funny interaction with a customer. I was wearing my Iowa Wild military hat. This guy that I saw walking towards him on a pick walk was wearing the same hat. And I looked at him and I said, "Nice hat." He's like, "You beat me to it. I was just going to say the same thing."
nice.
It was kind of funny, yeah. It was it made me giggle.
Doubling back a little bit real quickly on the topic of Wicked, you had an update for us on the soundtrack, I think.
Oh yeah. So, the movie soundtrack has dropped obviously since the movie's out now. But as I mentioned, Idina Menzel and Kristen Chenoweth are in the film. They also have lyrics in the song "One Short Day," and that was on my list of favorite songs when I talked about it on the last episode.
Mm-hmm.
Oh
The
man,
original version didn't have lyrics.
no, it did, but those lyrics specifically, it did not. So that's a new touch, and I think
Oh,
that was something that they had I think director had talked about paying homage to the Broadway musical by bringing them in and telling like Elphaba and Glinda watching Wizamania and with Kristen Chenoweth and Idina Menzel being in Wizamania, that just hearing them sing it out, it was as like when I listened to it the first time I listened to it, I'm like, oh, because I didn't even see that their names were credited in the song too.
okay.
But when I listened to it, I'm like, that's Idina Menzel and that's Kristen Chenoweth. Holy shit. This is amazing.
Nice.
Yeah, no, I'm glad that they had I'm glad that they had a cameo in the film because I know that they were the OG Broadway Glinda and Elphaba.
Right. Oh, I'm sure when you go to see the movie, you'll be keeping an eye out for them.
Oh, absolutely we will. Absolutely. But no, the movie is Act 1 of the Broadway musical. Part 2 is set to hit theaters November 25th, 2025.
Okay.
Um and Act 2 is what will be Wicked Part 2. Um but I didn't know this before, but apparently there is a 5-year gap between Act 1 and Act 2.
Really?
That makes a lot of sense because in
Oh
the
wait, that's right. I know because
the lion cub, the lion cub, that lion cub is the cowardly lion.
right, from what I understand, Act 1 is the prequel and Act 2 runs simultaneously to the original movie.
The Wizard of Oz, correct.
Right,
That
okay.
runs, yep, correct.
Runs parallel.
Yes.
So it's almost like a Lion King 1.5 type situation where you're getting an alternate perspective on things you've seen already.
See, and what you would never, if you had never seen Wicked and you've only seen The Wizard of Oz, you would never know that the Wicked Witch of the West, Elphaba, and Glinda, the Good Witch of the North, were once best friends.
Yeah. Well, I do think it's implied a little bit in the movie, but not it's not in the original movie. It's implied, but it's not in your like it's
It's
not
not in your
directly
face.
it's not directly explained. It's a subtle implication.
Yeah.
But yes. Well,
Such a good movie. Oh man, man, I cannot wait to see Wicked. I can't wait. Cannot wait.
indeed. Um
Oh, I
I
have.
think my next theatrical movie is going to be Sonic 3. It comes out December 9th, I think.
Okay. So, my daughter, I love her to death, but she kind of played me and Sarah the other day.
Okay.
Uh, she played a little game of Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Really?
So, I got a phone call Monday while I was at work from the school. I sent it to voicemail. 5 minutes goes by. Phone rings again. Okay, something's important.
Yeah.
So I go back to the back and tell like my team lead, like, hey, my kid's school is calling me. I need to give them a call back and see what's going on. I found out later that she had a substitute teacher, but at first I did not know that. Apparently my daughter, she has this cough. She gets this cough every year around this time. Everyone does.
Mm-hmm.
But she has a tendency to over exaggerate sometimes, as most kids do. I get it. But according to the school, they said it was preventing her from focusing, concentrating, and paying attention. I'm like, okay. So they wanted me to come pick her up. Cool. Let me call Sarah's mom. I called her. I let her know. I think Sarah was already Sarah was off work that day, or that's right. She was off. She was off that day. Yes. Uh, she was That's right. She was at the doctor's. So she went when she left the doctor's office. Up she went to Willow's school and got her, and spent the rest of so she, Sarah came and picked me up, and then we went back home and kept her home for the rest of the day. And then we decided to keep her home the next day to get the cough under control. I love my kid to death. I love my daughter dearly. But she ratted herself out.
Okay.
We were halfway through the day, Tuesday, and I'm like, little girl, you are not Ferris Bueller. You cannot fake sick. I missed work that day. I missed work that day to get the cough, air quotations, cough under control. Thankfully, I had some protected paid time off that I used, so I wasn't missing out on getting paid. So at least there's that.
what what did she do
Oh my
specifically
gosh.
uh
So so
exposed her scheme?
when Sarah was going to go get this is what that was the day that she got the new car. She went out to Altoona to meet up with her mom, and they went to the dealership. As Sarah was walking out the door, Willow's like, I want to play that game that you bought, Dad. I bought Connect 4. It was $5 at Walmart.
Okay.
Um, and Sarah's like, well, if you're sick, you need to go lay down in your room and rest. And my daughter turns around and says, "But I'm not." I'm like, "Kid, you just
No.
ratted yourself out." She's like, "I want to play the game." I'm like, "No. Now, if you want to fake sick, go fake sick. Go lay down and rest.
Yeah, there you go.
Reap the consequences."
Well, here then, smoke a whole carton of cigarettes. That was same energy.
Go lay down. Yeah, dude, I was so mad. So mad. Because you know what I could have used that 8 hours of protected paid time off for? Instead of asking someone to work December 8th for me, I could have used that 8 hours for the Sunday, December 8th hockey game, which is the Bluey game. Bluey is going to be there, and there's going to be meet and greets.
Ooh, okay.
I could have used that 8 hours of protected paid time off for that instead of asking someone to work that day for me.
Yeah, she
I was not a happy camper.
oh, you should definitely tell her that she almost potentially screwed herself out of that event.
Oh, trust me, I'm going to. Oh man.
That's a fun little anecdote.
Oh my god. Have kids, they said. It'll be fun, they said. When does the fun
No,
start?
no, thank you. I said.
Oh, oh my gosh. No, I love my daughter. And all jokes aside, I do. I love my daughter to death. And I would do anything for her.
Of course. Well, alrighty then. Well, with all that being said, I think I think we should jump into that media corner. How about you?
Yes.
Let's do it then.
Let's mosey on over.
Warriors, come out to play. Warriors, come out to play.
All right, everyone. Here we are at the media corner, the part of the show reserved for news, reviews, recommendations, and sometimes previews. And I was teeter-tottering between whether or not I was going to do a review for season 12 of Futurama or a recommend for Metaphor Refantasio, but I think I'm going to stay on theme and I'm going to stick with the video game here. Because honestly, doing a review for that game after the Game Awards just seems a little disingenuous, so I think I'd rather put it in now. And I'm going to save my Futurama review for when we do the Cartoon Wars episode, because that'll
There
be
you
on
go.
theme. So, yes. So I have a recommendation, not a review, because, quite frankly, I haven't put nearly enough time in it for a full review. But I've played enough to know that this is a solid one, enough to put it on my list of nominees for my top 10 contest
Yes.
this year, which, by the way, for those in the audience, by the time you're listening to this episode, the contest, the official contest video for this year will be out or will be out soon. And you'll want to make sure to really pay attention this time because the rules and rewards are going to be a little bit different. Stay tuned for more
Ooh.
details. So, yes, I'm getting rid of the tier-based reward system and replacing it with more opportunities to win in different ways. So,
Okay.
yeah.
I'm here for it.
Also, the list of nominees has been cut down from 20 to 15 to make it easier. It takes
Right.
your chances from 50 to 75% in terms of getting them all right. So, and there's a reason for that, and you'll see when we get there. But, yes. So I'm talking about Metaphor Refantasio here. This is by Atlas. Apparently it's Refantasio, not Refantasio, because Japanese developers like making us betray our own grammatical rules. Because, well, to be fair though, their alphabet is different, so they get a pass.
That's fair. Yeah.
So, yes. A lot of people will argue things like in Final Fantasy VII, if it's pronounced Mako or Mako, it's Mako because that's how they say it in the game. But some people are contrarian; they don't want to go against
Yeah.
the thing. So, anyways, but yeah, Metaphor Refantasio. It is a turn-based JRPG that plays exactly like a Persona game, which makes sense because it's by the same people. But, like, developers can make games that are different. Crash Bandicoot, Uncharted, and The Last of Us aren't exactly the same as each other, besides the fact that pretty much all of them take place in areas that are overgrown by vegetation.
Uh-huh.
But and Atlas does a whole bunch of it. They also did Unicorn Overlord this year as another game, which is completely different. And they've done other things too. But this game is literally, for all intents and purposes, basically a reskinned Persona game. It plays exactly the same.
Nice.
And it might as well have been Persona 6.
Fair enough.
It's just it's all the same. They just change the stuff. They change the names of things, but otherwise it's the same. So this game takes place in a medieval fantasy setting, whereas Persona games usually take place in a modern high school setting. But this is in a medieval fantasy setting, and what's going on here is that the king has been murdered, and the guy who murdered him is trying to take his place. The king's been murdered, the prince has been poisoned, and then the evil guy behind it is trying to become the new ruler. But on the day that he tries to take over, a spell that the old king left behind creates sort of a remnant of his living will behind, is in the form of a giant face in the sky that is overseeing a countrywide election for a new king. And this magical will exists to make sure that nobody can cheat their way to the top here. So this assassin can't take over by force. He has to win legitimately, democratically. And so this is shown to you visually when someone tries to assassinate the assassin, and since he is one of the eligible candidates for winning, these magical chains come out of the king's will and grab the guy and stop him from assassinating him. Like it's a direct
Mm.
interference. So basically, anyone who's a potential candidate for the next king is protected by a magical spell, so no one can assassinate them or anything like that. So in this game, you play as a character that you can name. The game asks you to put in your real name first, and then name the character you play as. I decided to be a smartass and name him Meta, and also because I'm lazy. So, yeah. Well,
At least you're honest.
for the Persona games, I always look up the default. The canon name for the character based on the anime, like in Persona 3, it's YU, or no, in Persona 4 it's YU, in Persona 3 it's Makoto, and in Persona 5 it's Ren. So I always just put in their default names, but this one doesn't have one. So what you are is, because this is a world where everyone is a fantasy creature of some kind. There are no humans here. They're all different races. Some of them have goat horns, some of them have elf ears, some of them have cat tails, but they're all, they're all humanoid in appearance, but they all have some animalistic feature, almost as if this game takes place in a distant future where humans no longer exist and animals have evolved into humanoids.
Interesting.
And also,
Okay.
but your character, who looks more human than the others, but the notable difference you have is two different eye colors and your blue hair. And you have a little fairy following you around. And you and her are basically some of the last of your races. Like, you're known as a, I forget what it's called. It's like an Eorba or an Elaba or something like that. And a lot of people point it out. They're like, oh, you're kind. We haven't heard of you, and everyone kind of like, you're like an outsider here, so everyone kind of looks down on you. And the fairy following you around, she's like one of the last of her kind, too. There aren't many of them left either.
Okay.
But she's like your little companion. She's like Navi in Legend of Zelda, but not annoying. You know? And she's probably the closest thing that this game comes to any form of fan service, which I'm glad for, because I really don't like forced fan service in the anime games, although a lot of them do it, and the Persona games are bad about that sometimes. Almost every last one of them has like a fucking either a beach scene or a bathhouse scene.
Oh Jesus.
You know?
Okay.
And but this doesn't have any shit like that. This is a lot more mature, I would say, this game. Probably due to its style of being a more... They said that, like, the director said that they made the writers watch the whole Lord of the Rings trilogy and all 8 seasons of Game of Thrones before writing this game.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah. So it was part of their research. So a lot of it is very inspired.
Nice.
For that way.
That's awesome.
So basically, as originally your goal is you're trying to get close to the guy who poisoned the prince so that you can assassinate him, and there are a few people who sympathize with your goal along the way and join you, including an elf woman who's a member of the knights, and this ramhorn guy who is a nobleman with a heart of gold. And they join you, but then when the campaign happens and your target becomes protected by the king's magic, your goal changes, and now your goal switches from assassinating the king's assassin and saving the prince to joining this campaign trail and trying to become the next king yourself instead, so that you can save the prince, because it turns out literally anyone is eligible to be king. They decided this is a free-for-all. Anyone who wants to go on the campaign trail, basically whoever gains the most favor from the general public by the time the campaign trail ends will be the new king. And and there is a big floating rock in the sky that shows the faces of the 3 top candidates currently, and as you play through the game and start gaining the favor of the citizens more and more by your actions, your face starts appearing on that rock. The goal, obviously, it's not like you have a choice. It's a predetermined story. The goal is obviously to become the new king by the end of the game, and it will happen if you play the game right. But much like the Persona games, this game has an in-game calendar with deadlines where you have to balance your time. Every day you have a day and night cycle, and during the day and night you can go out and talk to people, but each thing you do that increases your relationship with a party member or one of your social stats, um in the Persona games, it's like charm and courage and intelligence and stuff like that. In
Mm.
this game, though, they changed it to stuff like compassion and nobility and all kinds of. It's more like fantasy focused.
Okay.
But it's also more like things like qualities of a good leader too at the same time.
Uh-huh.
And so those, but it's still the same concept. You go like talk to different npcs and complete side quests and stuff, and it increases your reputation among the public as you do that. And so that's part of the goal, and each major turning point in the story, you'll have a deadline by which you need to go through a dungeon, reach the final boss, and beat that boss before you reach the deadline in that in-game calendar. If you don't reach your goal before that in-game deadline, you'll get a premature fake ending for the game, and then it'll just rewind you back a couple days and let you try again. So
Huh.
that's how it works in the Persona games too. Sometimes people
Okay.
fail on purpose just so they can see the fake endings, but the fake endings are always bad endings because they're basically you lose endings, you know.
Yeah.
Um, but so you have that, you have the deadlines, you have the day and night cycle, the relationship. The only thing that's different is there isn't really any, like, I don't think you can romance anyone. In the Persona games, you can always choose one of your female companions to romance, but in this game
Uh-huh.
they don't have that option.
Okay.
Um yeah, but it's more of an anime thing too. Actually, Persona 5 has this whole Easter egg on Valentine's Day where if you successfully romance every single female party member and companion, like social link companion,
Uh-huh.
all of them will show up at the same time on Valentine's Day, realize you've been playing all of them, and then they will all beat the shit out of you at the same time and leave.
That's
Eh,
hilarious.
yeah, it's pretty funny. So obviously I didn't do that because I'm not an asshole, but
Right.
I think I romanced Makoto in Persona 5, and in Persona 3 it is your party member Yuki. Um but anyways, yeah, but that's not an option here, and you know what? I'm completely fine with that because I've got that in Dragon Age or Veilguard anyways.
Right.
Too. And I don't, I could take it or leave it, honestly. I only even do that stuff when they are in those types of games because I feel obligated to, because the story feels incomplete without some kind of romance if it is an option, you
Uh-huh.
know?
Yeah.
Um, but the other thing too is that they are optional. There'll
Yeah.
be pretty much every female companion in the Persona games. When you up your social rank with them to a high enough level, they will actually ask you out, and you have the option to confirm romantic feelings or tell them that you're just friends at that point.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Huh.
Um, but yeah, so whereas in the Persona games you spend your daily life hanging out with friends, going to the movies, playing arcade games, doing, singing karaoke, working to earn money, doing real life stuff to up your social stats and your social ranks with characters. When you up your rank with a character, be they a party member or NPC, it directly affects any of your personas that are attached to that particular arcana, so they become more powerful in combat. Same thing happens here in this game, but the way they handle this game's version of personas, which I forget the name for them, but it's not the same. It's a little bit different though, because this is closer to like a job class system in a Final Fantasy game where they are each of the persona type monsters you can summon are a different class, like warrior, merchant, mage,
Okay.
archer, stuff like that. So it that more determines the abilities that you can use in combat, and it gives you more incentive instead of just sticking with like one or two different monster types for each person. It gives you incentive to experiment a bit and switch jobs up so that your party members can all learn different types of abilities and play different roles in combat. Um, because for the most part, you're gonna want a tank warrior, you're gonna want a healer or someone that can cast magic at
Yeah.
least, and you're gonna want you want a balanced party,
True.
and you want at least one character dedicated to healing at all times in these types of games. And combat in this game is a lot like the Persona games. It's turn based, and these Persona style games have so much in common with Pokemon because they're turn based game combat where you use the monsters that you've captured to fight other monsters, basically. But in this one, instead of you coming up on these shadows and them turning into different forms of the types of things that you used to fight with, this is completely different. You basically have ancient god spirits fighting on your side here, and the monsters you're coming up against are just normal creatures in this world, like wolves and plant monsters, and it's more Final Fantasy-esque in that way. Um, and bandits, like regular bandits and shit that you come upon, but where it does switch up in that, and where I think it gets really interesting, and where I think the meta part in Metaphor Fantasio comes in, is every once in a while you will come across these ancient monsters known as humans.
Oh.
And the humans in this game are these horrifying Cronenbergian body horror monstrosities that are made of pure nightmare fuel. They are just the weirdest looking creatures. It's hard to even describe visually what they are because they're just so broken and disturbing looking. And there's so much like symbolism on them. Like there was one I thought that was like it had like a woman's head, but its body was a giant egg, and on top of its head there was like a hat that had these angelic statues going around on it. And it's like, what kind of acid trip comes up with this shit? It's insane. But this is why I think that there's more going on to the story here, because I think that these humans that they're fighting, and the reason they even call them humans, is because they may actually be what used to be normal humans. I think. I have a theory. I can't confirm that one way or the other because I'm not far enough in the game to really know where they're going with that part of it, but I do think that's a huge part of it. And what really makes me think this even more is that your character is carrying around this book everyone's interested in, and in their world, this is a fantasy book. And when they read the book, do you want to take a wild stab at what the fantasy world is in the book they're reading?
What's the...
Our world, the real one.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah, so the book they're reading, it imagines this world, and the way they explain it about, like, people having rights and there being diversity and elections being democratic and all that, and I'm like, well, they're explaining an ideal version of our world. Like, a utopia that we've attempted to build towards several times,
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, I'm really curious to see where they're going with that, because I think that's going to be really cool when it reveals itself to be some kind of fourth wall breaking thing. That mixed with the the election thing, and there's this whole thing going on where part of the reason that the prince got executed is because he had these very forward thinking ideas about about ending segregation and stuff, because in this world, there's a lot of their version of racism going on. Some of the races really don't like some of the other races. Like the Ramhorn people really hate the Elf ear people, for example. And so there's a lot of commentary about that. I'll be honest with you, it's not exactly subtle, and I'm genuinely surprised there hasn't been a bunch of idiots on the internet complaining about this game being woke. But I also...
So, I'm looking at I'm looking at the screen.
I also think that the type of people who would bitch about woke in the first place probably aren't smart enough to get the parallels that this game is drawing. I think because it's so shrouded in a fantasy setting that it's probably not on the nose enough for them, quite frankly. Even though I think it's very on the nose, but you know, uh, those type of people don't have media literacy. So what
Right.
about the screenshots?
I'm looking at the screenshots on the PlayStation page for this
Mm-hmm.
game, and I think in the screenshots it shows what a air quotes human is. Is it like it's like kind of like what the Demogorgons from Stranger Things, but with a face in the middle?
Um, if it has a human features type face, then yes.
Yes, that's what I'm looking at. Yeah, it's got like four eyes, a nose.
Yeah, there are.
That's so weird looking.
Yeah, the humans are monstrosities. Yeah, you'll see in one of the screenshots there's a girl all in pink with what looks like fox ears. She joins your party as a character
Okay.
not very long in. Yeah, so okay. So there's the screenshot that says equipment, and then right after that, there's that's the one I was talking about with the egg body. It's got a face. It's got what looks like a heart with bagpipe valves coming out of the heart on top of it. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
that's a human
Okay.
in this game. Yeah. And then in the very next screenshot, they're fighting wolves on the sand. Those are regular enemies.
Okay.
And then yeah, the demigorgon looking one that you said after that, that is also a human. Yeah. The humans are boss battles in this game a lot of the time, but not always. There's boss battles against in-game characters too. So, it's like in Kingdom Hearts how sometimes you fight heartless and sometimes you fight people. you know. Uh,
Okay.
so yeah,
Interesting.
the combat is mostly turn-based, so this is, again, this is a half like living your life simulator and half, dungeon crawling turn-based RPG. And the dungeons, there's even things where like sometimes side quests will take place in other areas on the map, and traveling to that area will actually take a couple of days, so you have to account that into your calculations for your deadline, you know, and
Okay.
stuff like that. Um you have to balance everything because you may not have time to do every side quest and talk to every person, all that before your deadline. You really have to prioritize.
Yeah.
Um, and sometimes certain people are only available on certain days of the week and shit like that too. So,
Hmm.
um, and what I do like though is that you don't get forced into turn based combat for everything here. If you are a high enough level and the enemies are a low enough level beneath you in a certain area, you can just kill them instantly on the map by attacking them normally. And that's what this game has for real time combat, basically.
Okay.
Um, is that, so if the enemy is equal to your level or higher, you will get thrown into a combat arena with turn based combat, strategy combat, but if you are a much higher level than them, you can just insta kill them with a sword attack on the map. And that's the other thing too. You want to get a sword attack on the enemy on the map because that gives you a bonus in the start. If you can hit them and then hit the initiate combat button right after you hit them, you will come into combat with the enemy being stunned and having lost some of their health already. It'll give you a preemptive strike. On that
Nice.
same on that same note, though, if an enemy notices you on the map and they come up and attack you first, the opposite effect will happen. They will start combat with an advantage
That
instead.
makes sense.
So yeah, so it's pretty cool in that. One of the other best things about this game, like every game made by the Persona people, the art style is absolutely amazing. Like it's got such a beautiful. I love the cell shaded but stylistic art style. The flashy menus. It's very Persona style. They're really good at that kind of thing. They have a very unique take on that kind of thing. Like Persona 5 had just like this black and white um, text aesthetic on red backgrounds that really worked for it. Persona 3 does the same thing with blue. Um, and the soundtrack to this game is an absolute banger. They always have really good soundtracks in the Persona games. Metaphor Fantasia is no exception, except it's a much more like epic where the Persona games have more like modern music, like pop and rap and K-pop and stuff. This soundtrack is more like epic orchestral RPG action music,
Okay.
and the battle theme is really popular. Like everyone loves the battle theme, and one of the reasons for it is because there are lyrics in the battle theme that is just this opera singer just absolutely shredding the vocals. It sounds like it sounds like fast rap, but in like opera singer version. It's weird. According to the game's director, it was supposed to sound like the chanting of Buddhist monks.
Okay.
Um, Yeah, but the guy just goes hard. He's like, it's
Jesus.
insane.
Okay.
Um, yeah, you got to listen to the Metaphor Refantasio battle theme. It is nuts. But it absolutely slaps. I swear. So yeah, anyways though, that's a hard recommend for this game. If anyone out there is a fan of the Persona games, if you like Persona, you will love this game. I cannot more strongly recommend it. I see why it was nominated for Game of the Year, even though it's like an 80-hour game and no one has finished it because it just came out last month. you know, like, but that's just how good it is, even a few hours in,
Mm-hmm.
that people were like, yeah, I can see why this got nominated. So,
Right.
yeah.
I, I might check it out sometime.
Yeah, it's definitely a top 10 contender for me, and it's already on sale. PlayStation Store's having a Black Friday sale, and a lot of shit is dropped
I
down.
saw that.
So, yeah, a lot of stuff has dropped down in price. So anyways, yeah, so that's my strong recommend for that. I don't know if I had to give it a rating right now, it would probably be like a strong 8.5 out of 10 at least
Okay.
at the moment, but I can't really plant my flag on that until I've gotten much further in it. But absolutely loving what I've seen so far.
Nice.
So I hear you
Alright.
you only have one thing for us tonight. What is it?
Oh no, I got two things.
Oh, you do have two things.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I probably should have let you go first then. But that's okay.
Oops. Heh.
Why don't you
So,
go ahead? Why don't you go ahead and do both of your things back to back?
well, I'm
Because
gonna actually that yeah. I'm gonna throw you for a loop for my first thing though, because
okay.
it ain't what you're thinking. Recently, we uh got screenshots and a teaser trailer for the live action How to Train Your Dragon.
Oh, so this is news. Okay.
Yes, I'm so excited. It looks like they took Toothless out of the animation and polished it off with some realistic CGI. It looks almost identical to the animation. At
I'm gonna
least,
say I'm
at
gonna say
least
something very very controversial here, but
what's
I
that?
actually think looking at the side by side screenshots between the cartoon and the upcoming live action remake, I'm not going to say this about the whole thing overall, and I can't until I've seen it, but just looking at the screenshots, I think I personally like the live action design for Toothless more than the cartoon.
I agree, 100%.
Just like his design, period. That's it. That's not a statement on the whole thing overall. I'm not saying the live action version is better than the cartoon or any other shit that someone could possibly misinterpret. I'm just saying the design of Toothless himself, I think, looks better overall,
I agree 100% with that. Now,
especially his eyes.
yes. Now, I will say I am glad that Gerard Butler is reprising his role as Stoic, Hiccup's dad. I
Right.
think out of all of the original cast, I think he's the only one that came back to well, because they had to find people that looked like the other characters.
Right. Right.
But Gerard Butler, he is stoic.
Fair enough.
He is like that's I really think that them bringing him back at least this movie's gonna have some credibility,
Yeah.
if not accuracy to that specific character,
Yeah.
and of course Toothless.
If the actor who voiced a character can pull them off in live action too, then I say go for it. Like if they can get the look down and see there's some familiarity there, I say go for it. But other,
Absolutely.
otherwise, I definitely say yeah, prioritize looks over the voice. I would for live action. You know
Oh,
that
absolutely.
that was my mindset for the live action Last of Us. I was like, at least casting wise, like they got the. I think they got the right people there, but then
Yeah.
they ended up surprising me with just how accurate their portrayals were. Although
Hmm.
um, I would say Pedro Pascal's Joel is a little less hardened than Troy Baker's, but it's
Fair
still
enough.
a very close portrayal. But Bella Ramsey's Ellie was like on point. Actually, I think those are some cases where it's a little. Pedro Pascal looks the part, but he acted a little softer than Joel is, whereas Bella Ramsey may not look the part as much, but her acting of Ellie was like
Spot
spot
on.
on. Yeah. So, so either way, it still worked.
Now,
So,
my yeah, all in all, I cannot wait. We got a release date too, June 13th, 2025. It will hit theaters. This is going to be a trip to the movie theaters for me.
okay,
This is yeah, no, this is definitely going to be one to see in theaters.
you may end up seeing it before me. You'll have to give us your thoughts
I
when you do.
most definitely will.
Okay.
My second thing is season 6 part 2 of Cobra Kai.
Okay.
Now, we've gotten to the Sekai Taikai World Karate Championship competition. We've got John Kreese with Kokai, and you've got uh, Daniel LaRusso, Johnny Lawrence, and Chosen for Miyagi Do karate. Now, there are some things that I will not mention, but I will dance around it. There are some things that Daniel finds out about his sensei, Mr. Miyagi.
Oh, okay.
Terry Silver, he had teamed up with John Kreese with Cobra Kai back in the original movies. Terry Silver has resurfaced and gave the documents to to Daniel containing something that has information about Mr. Miyagi. I'm not going to say what it is,
Mm-hmm.
but holy shit, is it dark.
Oh, okay. I wonder if that's controversial. I wonder how many people are gonna complain about that and say they're tainting the tainting the name of a legacy character. You know what I mean?
But this is something that Daniel never knew about Mr. Miyagi. This is about when Mr. Miyagi competed in the Sekai Taikai when he was a student.
Well, right, but he never knew it in universe because it happened. It
Happened before he
it,
was.
but also because realistically, because it hadn't been written that way in the movie. It wasn't
Right.
part of his backstory until they added it into the show. That's what we call retconning.
Yeah.
When you retroactively change continuity.
Yeah. And the original actor for Mr. Miyagi is not around, so
Right.
they found some way to. Yeah, I don't know. But it's dark. It's super dark. Yeah, if you plan on
That's interesting.
if you
Though.
plan on
Ballsy.
if you plan on watching this, go into it with tempered expectations.
That makes it sound like it's just okay.
It was no, it was good. It was it maybe tempered expectations were wrong choice of words. Go into it with an open mind
Okay.
cuz it is dark.
I enjoy dark.
So we get down to so they got these different competitions where they have to get to the next round, and the next round, and the next round. The final round is the what did they call it? Oh, what did they call it? They called it the something having to do with champions.
Okay.
So the team captains. Each team has two captains, one male, one female. The captain for Miyagi-Do was Robbie and Tommy's son. No, not Tommy. Wow. Tommy was another character that John Lawrence's son, Robbie, and
Okay.
Daniel LaRusso's daughter, Hannah. Captain for Cobra Kai, I don't remember the dude's name, but the female team captain for Cobra Kai. Oh, I don't know if I should say it because it's technically considered a spoiler.
Oh well, then
I mean,
don't. I guess.
it happened at the end of season 6, part 1. But no, all in all, this is. Oh man, I cannot wait for the conclusion in February. Because this is a 3-part. This is that there's going to be a season 6, part 3. Capping it off. The final episodes are coming in February, and I'm so fucking excited.
Man, I've heard of a mid-season finale, but not a not a trid season finale. Tri season finale.
Yeah, that.
How do you even?
I have no idea.
Like, I think they're the first ones I've ever seen to split a whole season of a show into 3 parts.
It threw me off.
Like,
because this was supposed to be the final 5 episodes. I didn't know they're planning on doing more.
I've seen two
it
halves.
Makes sense.
Walking Dead used to do that all the time, but
it makes sense. Because next year, no, this is why they're doing it. I can tell you. I don't know if this is the exact reason why they're doing it, but to continue giving the fans what they want. Season 6, part 3, coming in February of 2025, and then we have the Karate Kid movie starring Jackie Chan and Ralph Macchio, capping off the series.
Oh, that's a remake, isn't it? Okay.
No, it's another Karate Kid movie.
Oh, it's new. Okay.
New, completely new. Cause Jackie Chan and Ralph Macchio, they've both been in Karate Kid films, but never at the same time.
But it's the same name, right? It's the same name, so
The Karate Kid, but so Jackie Chan is just
so I think that's what we call a canonical soft reboot, like God of War 2018.
kinda, yeah. Hold on. Jackie Chan's character's name was Mr. Han.
Okay.
So he will be Mr. Han in karate. They've got an official title. It's called Karate Kid Legends.
Oh, okay. So it's not just okay. So it does have a subtitle. Okay.
Daniel arrives in Beijing, where Mr. Han has been seeking him out. Han has a new protege, Li Fong. The two mentors must collaborate to instruct Li Fong, but it remains to be seen if their instructional approaches will be compatible.
Okay.
Oh, I'm so excited for that.
So this show is supposed to
that.
be leading into that.
Yes, this is expected May 30th, 2025.
Okay. Okay. I see. I wonder if they made a last minute decision to extend this last season because of that movie then.
It's a possibility.
Like they felt like they needed more episodes to add more context to lead directly into it.
I think so, yeah.
Or something.
That makes sense.
So they're kind of doing an MCU thing. We'll have to see how that pans
Oh,
out.
I'm so excited.
What do we call that? We did a whole episode on it, transmedia.
Yes.
So, or cross media franchises.
Yes.
Okay. So you got a rating for this part 2 of season 6?
Oh, easily 10 out of 10.
Okay.
Dude, Cobra Kai can do no wrong.
Fair enough.
I mean, the dojo can, but not the show.
Right. Okay. All right.
Man. I don't know. I've got a bias.
No, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. It's
Love
it's
it.
all subjective around here.
Yes.
Okay, so to lead us into our topic and to wrap up this media corner really quickly, I want to mention that the UK version of the Game Awards recently aired. It's called the Golden Joystick Awards, and much like they have their own E3 Summer Game Fest thing in the form of Gamescom, they also have this. And it's worth tuning into because they have a couple of cool things. It was actually hosted by Ben Starr, who is the voice of Clive Rossfield in Final Fantasy 16.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he's actually picked up a lot of popularity since that game, and he's been very active in the gaming community. I honestly think he's like the next, Nolan North, Troy Baker, Matt Mercer. Like he's gonna be up there
Okay.
with them.
Nice. That's awesome.
Like he's putting his foot in a lot of doors. Like he's getting involved in a lot of things, and I think that's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
I think he actually helped fund this. I think because there was like a bit in the opening. I watched the live stream, and there was different big names from the gaming industry that were part of the show, and they did like a montage in the beginning asking questions about why they wanted to be a part of this, and asking answering different questions about gaming and art in general. And Jacksepticeye was a part of it, and
Nice.
he cracked a joke, and he's like, why am I here? He's like, because he's like, I'm here because Ben Starr paid me 500 quid to be here, So I just thought that was
That's
funny.
awesome. It's hilarious.
But yeah, so they have that. It's probably like the one big gaming event across anywhere that's not hosted by Jeff Keighley now.
Right.
So, um, but yeah. So the golden joysticks, I'm just gonna go down really quickly for the winners because there is some crossover here in terms of games that were nominated and different categories with like the
Mm-hmm.
game awards.
Uh-huh.
But I'm not gonna say what each nominee was for every category because they have a lot. Like every category has like 10 nominees for them.
Okay.
But I will say the winners. So they had for best audio design. Now that's not soundtrack. That's just audio design, like the game's sound effects and like if you're wearing headphones, like where sounds are coming from, shit like that. Gunfire, beep boops, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Best audio design went to Astrobot.
Whoa, nice.
Now, best soundtrack. This one is the music in the game. The game's music, either with or without vocals, doesn't matter. Best soundtrack went to Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
Okay.
No surprise. No surprise there. Square Enix games always have the best music.
They always got
honestly.
bangers.
Best storytelling, which is pretty self-explanatory, went to Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
Okay.
Best multiplayer game, Helldivers 2.
Okay.
Not surprised there. When that game first came out, I heard almost nothing but good things about it. So, best visual design, which is basically their version of best art style, Black Myth Wukong.
Nice.
Best indie game, Balatro, which is also up for best indie game at the Game Awards and Game of the Year. And for those that don't know, Balatro is a roguelike card game. It gained a lot of popularity really quickly. It's on mobile devices and Nintendo Switch.
Nice.
And people like their roguelikes, and it's coming hot off the heels of another roguelike card game from last year called Inscription, or from a couple years ago, so I'm not surprised. They also, so that's best indie game, but they also have a best self-published indie game category. That's for like a game that was made by like
Yeah.
one person and it was published by them. They didn't like one or two people. They weren't picked up by a big company or anything. They didn't have a publisher. They just published their own game. That one went to Another Crab's Treasure, which is the cartoony Souls-like game on Game Pass where you play as a crab trying to find a new house, a new
Okay.
shell. Studio of the Year, Game Developer of the Year, whatever, went to Team Asobi for
Nice.
Astrobot. Best lead performance in a video game went to Cody Christian for his performance of Cloud in Final Fantasy
Okay.
VII Rebirth. Best supporting cast performance, supporting actor award, went to Brianna White for her performance of Aerith in Final
awesome.
Fantasy VII Rebirth. The Critics' Choice Award or Best Breakthrough Award went to Balatro. The some of these categories are weird for them. The Still Playing Award, which I think is basically their version
Yeah.
of best ongoing game. I think it's a fan voted category for the game that like many years later this game is
Yeah.
old as shit and people are still playing it.
Okay.
Minecraft. For console and PC, the Still Playing Award for mobile went to Honkai Star Rail. Now we have PC Game of the Year, which went to a game called Satisfactory. And then we have Console Game of the Year, which went to Helldivers 2, which is also on PC, but on consoles it's exclusive to PlayStation. So, Most Wanted Game, which is their version of Most Anticipated Game, went to GTA 6.
Okay. I can see that.
Critics' Choice Award, not the breakthrough one, but just normal Critics' Choice Award, went to Helldivers 2. Best Game Expansion, or DLC, went to Elden Ring Shadow of the Erd Tree.
Mm-hmm.
Best Gaming Hardware is interesting category, went to the Steam Deck OLED model.
Okay.
Best early access game went to Lethal Company. I can believe it. A lot of YouTubers playing that with their friends. Markiplier did a bunch of videos with Bob and Wade about it. It's kind of like The Forest, except it takes place in a factory, um, where you're trying to survive with your friends. Best game trailer, interesting, went to Helldivers 2. The Streamer's Choice Award went to a game called Chained Together. Uh, Best adaptation went to the Fallout TV show on Amazon Prime. And Ultimate Game of the Year award went to Black Myth Wukong, which is a game that you've actually mentioned showing interest in before because of the monkey guy.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So that was the Golden Joystick's official Game of the Year winner, and Black Myth
Okay.
Wukong also happens to be up for Game of the Year at the Game Awards this year as well. So I wonder if that'll overlap. You know,
I don't know. We'll see.
be
We shall
interesting to see.
Yes.
But that is the winners for the Golden Joysticks, the British Game Awards. And with that in mind, I think that is a perfect segue into our topic, where we will be putting in our votes and predictions for this year's Game Awards that air in December.
Yes.
All right, you've waited long enough, so let's do it. Here are the nominees for the Game Awards 2024.
All right, folks, here we are at this episode's topic, and the topic this time is obviously going to be, we're going to go through each of the nominees for the 2024 Game Awards, talk about them, put our personal votes in on who we want to win, and then also make predictions about who we think is going to win, and also maybe make some predictions about some announcements that might happen and other things we might see at the show this year, because of course it's not just an award show, it's also another excuse to drop huge game announcements.
Yes.
So, we already voted on all the esports stuff and content creator of the year because we didn't really want to waste time with that, and we don't know any of these people, so we're gonna actually start at the bottom and work our way up to Game of the Year, and we're gonna start with the most anticipated game, which is the award that goes to an upcoming game yet to be released that is the one that you are looking the most forward to. This award will go to basically which game is considered the most anticipated by the general public overall, I think.
I have a feeling I know who's going to win this one.
Me too. I'm going to go ahead right now, and I'm actually going to write down our predictions to see if we are correct. I'm going to keep notes of what we voted for, but also what we predicted. And
Okay.
and then compare those notes when we do the post show episode and see what we were right about. So,
Okay.
my prediction. So, I should probably read the nominees first, because
Yeah.
some people listen to this. Not everyone watches the video version. We have Death Stranding 2 on the Beach, Ghost of Yotei, Grand Theft Auto 6, Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, and Monster Hunter Wilds. I'm gonna go out on a limb here, and I'm gonna say I think Grand Theft Auto 6 is gonna win.
That's who I'm voting for, and I agree with your prediction. Yeah, no, I fully, because, okay, so here's why I think Grand Theft Auto 6 is going to win this category. Grand Theft Auto 5 has been out for 11 years. People have been waiting. They've been milking the shit out of Grand Theft Auto Online, and it's about fucking time they put out a new game. So that's why I believe Grand Theft Auto 6 is gonna win.
Right. Yeah. I agree with that too. It's a very popular franchise. Out of everything else here, it's multi-platform, and 3 of the games here are console exclusives. In this list of nominees, so don't have as wide of an audience. Monster Hunter is very popular. Metroid's very popular. If I had to choose 2 games on this list that I think don't stand a chance at all, it's Ghost of Yotei and Death Stranding 2, because those are both very niche franchises. And Ghost of Yotei has a lot of moronic incels angry that the new protagonist is a female. Uh, since Ghost of Tsushima had a male protagonist, and Death Stranding 2 is just it's a Kojima game, so it's only going to appeal to Kojima fans. He's
Yeah.
a very weird man with a very unique style of making games. Anyone who's played Metal Gear Solid knows what I'm talking about. It's
I've played a little bit of the first Death Stranding game, and it feels clunky.
on purpose because it's you're balancing packages while you're trying to get across the world, and it gets easier as you go because eventually you start building roads um and you can get vehicles to help you traverse, and the it's one of those games where progress is kind of a puzzle. You know, you come to parts where you're like, oh, I need a ladder here to move forward, and you have to balance things, and if you fall and drop your shit, you have to pick it up, and but when you finally get to that next station and you unload all those packages into the thing, it's like a huge sense of relief that washes over you. And that's a big part of the game. That's a huge part of it, rebuilding this world, delivering packages. But then there are parts where these giant blob monsters come out of the ground and you have to fight them off with your guns, or you get. There's a whole boss battle part that takes place in like a World War II zone against a very creepy Mads Mikkelsen in a giant spider web. It's so weird.
Interesting.
Yeah. It is a very odd game, but it's got such a beautiful soundtrack. It's right up my alley though, this type of weirdness. And yeah, that clunkiness is definitely intentional in one of the parts. That's why you have to like hold the shoulder buttons to balance when you're like going up and down hills and shit so you don't fall and stuff like that. It's supposed to, but then when you later you can get upgrades for like mechanical legs you can put on, or upgrades for your back, so you can start carrying more and more stuff safely, and it'll feel less and less clunky as you go.
Makes sense.
And
Yeah.
get those upgrades that you need. Yeah. So but yeah, this is a world where you can't kill other people or they'll explode and put a giant crater in the ground, and that's more blob monsters will come out
Right.
of it. You know, so that's why they give you weapons, non-lethal weapons too, which is a very Kojima thing. Because in Metal Gear Solid, you can choose to kill people or tranquilize them, and there's actually rewards for doing non-lethal playthroughs.
Okay.
So, but yeah, my vote I think is it's between Death Stranding 2 and Ghost of Yotei, the two that most likely won't get it, but I'm going to go with Death Stranding 2. That's right up my alley.
You already know what I'm voting for.
Oh, I'm 100% sure I knew it was Grand Theft Auto
Abso-fucking-lutely.
6.
Yeah.
All right. Next here we have the best adaptation, which is the, show or movie based on a video game. And the nominees are Arcane, based on League of Legends, Fallout, the Amazon Prime show, Knuckles, the spin-off of the Sonic movies, Like a Dragon Yakuza, the show on Prime named after the same game, and Tomb Raider The Legend of Lara Croft from Netflix, which is an animated series based on the newer Tomb Raider games, I think. Out of all of these, I am both going to give my vote to and predict that the winner is going to be Fallout. And my reason for that, Arcane might take it too. Arcane has a strong chance, but I'm going to go for Fallout because Fallout did something different than other adaptations do that I think a lot of people appreciated, and it created a new story in an existing world. It squeezed new characters and a new narrative into an already established universe without breaking the continuity of the already existing games. So I would say in that it's actually less of an adaptation and more of a part of the story, like a canonical entry in the overall Fallout lore is what I would say it is, because I mean, and it calls direct things to. There's like a whole flashback scene where you see all of these like rich overlord dudes talking about all these vaults they want to make and the experiments they want to perform on people down there. And then in the Fallout games, each and every last one of those vaults they're talking about in that scene exists in the games, and you go in them and you find out about the horrifying experiments that they've done. And the way what they talk about doing in each of these is like something like if you've played the games and found those vaults, you'll know what they're taught. You'll like get the Easter egg. You'll be like, oh shit, you know. So yeah, that also like you and I talked about it, and I distinctly remember that we were both pretty disappointed in Knuckles.
Dude, okay, so I don't even know why that got nominated, because at one point, oh, hold on.
Also,
Oh my god.
also for Fallout, I can just say that Ella Purnell and Walton Goggins have great chemistry in that show, and it's everything about it is great. I didn't have a single problem with it, and the way it's paced, the level of like over the top explodey violence and shit that's in it and all that,
Uh-huh.
and just the fact that Walton Goggins is in it. Fallout feels a like a fucking Tarantino movie, if you ask me.
Yeah,
in a lot of ways.
I'm voting for Fallout as well, because I haven't watched it yet, but out of all of the things that are on there, that seems to be the thing that I would vote for. So
Yeah, you
here's
should watch it
my
though. You will like it. You don't even have to have played the games to enjoy
Oh, I
it.
know.
I know you'll like it.
I'm waiting to find time to sit down and watch it with Sarah. Let's see. Okay. So here is my beef with Knuckles. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I Dude, it turns into an all about Wade Whipple story when the
Yup.
show is called Knuckles. Let's
Yup.
see. How many episodes is Idris Elba in? He's in all 6.
Yep. Well, yeah, he's in all of them. It's just he doesn't get as much screen time as he should. I remember we talked about it. The show starts off good, and then it really devolves into something really fucking stupid. It gets really stupid. It's part of its problem,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And it's not the fun Jim Carrey kind of stupid that carries the movies. It's just stupid.
No, it's yeah.
That whole standoff scene in the middle of the road was dumb as fuck. The whole thing was absolutely moronic.
It really
I hated
was.
it so much.
Yeah, it really was.
But yeah, Arcane I think does stand a good chance though, because even people who would never even think of touching League of Legends a day in their life have genuinely enjoyed that show. It stands on its own because it's a lore based show that's about one of the characters from the game, and it just it kind of it stands on its own as a original story. But I've heard from like a Dragon fans that and Tomb Raider fans that those two shows are pretty divisive. I think out of everything here, Fallout is the only thing that has gotten universal praise altogether.
Okay.
So
Yep. Casting my vote for Fallout.
all right. Tell us about we are on now best multiplayer. You want to read these nominees?
1 second. So we have for best multiplayer Call of Duty Black Ops 6, Helldivers 2, Super Mario Party Jamboree, Tekken 8, and Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine 2.
I strongly feel like this is going to go to Helldivers 2. Although the game may have lost some of its traction recently, when it first came out, it was like the thing everyone was playing. And it's a live service co-op game where you and other players work together to fight off alien bug creatures. And it's happening in real time, so like while you're away from the game, working or sleeping
Mhm.
or whatever, it's entirely like other players in other parts of the world are still fighting these monsters. And it's entirely possible that you can wake up the next day and one of the human planets have been destroyed by the alien bugs. Like it's a real time ongoing thing. Um,
It sounds interesting.
yeah, a lot of people seem to like it. It's on PlayStation and PC. It is a PlayStation game. It's published by Sony Interactive
Air
Entertainment. So it's developed by Arrowhead Game Studios, published by SIE, Sony Interactive. Um,
Okay.
so so yeah, there's that, and then let's see. We actually have and even though Call of Duty is also on PlayStation, it is a technically Xbox-owned franchise now.
Yes.
And so we have one Xbox, one PlayStation, one Nintendo game here with Super Mario Party Jamboree. And then there's Tekken 8 and Warhammer. And I've heard good things about all of these, and I've played Super Mario Party Jamboree. It's the only one I have played here. I've played Black Ops 6, but not the multiplayer, and I never will. um,
Right.
but the campaign is fucking solid. So I'm going to go ahead and predict. I think it's very likely to be Helldivers 2. I wouldn't be surprised if it went to Call of Duty because so many people play that multiplayer, but I think it's going to go to Helldivers 2, especially looking
Yeah.
at how many categories it won at the Golden Joysticks, too. Um, but I'm going to vote for Super Mario Party Jamboree because it's the only one I've played.
Fair enough.
And I haven't dabbled in the multiplayer in it yet, but I genuinely enjoy playing these games with other people, as long as those people aren't over competitive.
Right. We know some people like that.
Yeah, some people take it a little too seriously, but that's why they added a pro mode into this game. That's for them.
All right.
But yeah, so for let me what's your vote and prediction here?
So my vote is Super Mario Party Jamboree.
Okay.
My prediction, like you said, I wouldn't be surprised if it went to the Black Ops 6. I'm predicting Black Ops 6.
Okay, so I predicted Helldivers, you predicted Black Ops for that one.
Yes.
Okay. We will see how that goes. You want to take this next one as well?
Yes. So for the best sports and racing game, we have F1 24, EA Sports FC 25, NBA 2K25, Top Spin 2K25, and WWE 2K24.
Well, I guess it's no surprise. I mean, I guess it's no question what you're going to vote for.
There is no competition here.
Yeah, I have no dog in this fight because absolutely none of these things have I ever touched a day in my life.
I I have not played any of the other games, but I can say what they did in My Rise for 2K24, golden. Holy shit. It was a powerful story.
I I think when we go to predict this one, we can't underestimate exactly how popular soccer games are. For some reason, in the sports game category, soccer
Yeah,
games tend to
but
win
FIFA didn't
a
get
lot. Like
nominated.
FIFA,
I would say
a
FIFA
lot.
didn't get nominated this year.
There's a huge audience
There's
for those. Um, I would also maybe argue
Yeah.
that NBA being a basketball game also stands a high chance. I would be surprised if F1 won, and I'm going to go
Yeah.
ahead and write off Top Spin right away because that's a tennis game, and I don't think the audience for that
Yeah.
is that big, but I could be wrong. I mean, it's nominated, but it also, sometimes I feel like some of the nominees are
Yeah,
there because
fair.
they didn't have a huge pool to pull from
Casting
in
my
that category
vote.
either, so... Um, I know your vote is for WWE 2K24, obviously, but
Prediction?
prediction wise, what do you think stands the highest chance here? You're more of a sports guy than I
Uh,
am, so
I know wrestling is getting popular again, especially with the fact that they're going to be streaming on Netflix come January.
I didn't realize until Dead Meat that exactly how popular wrestling was among horror fans.
Yeah. Undertaker is a very, very big spectacle in that, and Bray Wyatt.
I think I'm gonna vote for that, by the way, just to throw a bone your way, and because I don't care about this category in general. But
Yeah, no, I want to say WWE 2K24 wins, but uh, it's a toss between NBA 2K25 and EA Sports FC 25.
gotta plant your flag on one of them.
Yeah, NBA.
Okay,
I'm gonna say NBA. Yeah.
I'm gonna go for the wild card, and I'm gonna predict the soccer game.
Okay.
We'll see how that pans out.
Right. Maybe we'll be surprised and
Okay.
WWE wins.
Next, we have best simulation slash strategy game, which is focused on real time or turn based simulation or strategy gameplay.
Yes.
Not necessarily RPGs. It's a little bit different. It's more like tactics games or like Age of Empires type of stuff, like real time strategy, that kind of
Uh-huh.
thing. So we have Age of Mythology Retold, Frostpunk 2, uh, uh, Kanutsugami, Path of the Goddess, Manor Lords, and Unicorn Overlord, which is an Atlas game. And I haven't had a chance to play it, but I kind of want to. It's a tactics game. Looks cool. I have played some of Kanutsugami, Path of the Goddess on the Xbox. That one is basically a kind of a tower defense game
Okay.
in a way. You're kind of like you have your character, the goddess herself, that you play as, and your goal is to like try and defend these little towns from these invading creatures and stuff, and you're like going to different spots on the map and using the resources you've earned to like recruit different soldiers and put them in different
Mm-hmm.
spots on the map to kind of like fight back the waves of enemies that come in. And you have like a time limit to get set up for each round, and then after the round you can use the resources you earn from that round to buy more soldiers and do upgrades. And yeah, it's basically a real-time tower defense game with some like action combat mixed in. It's really cool. um it's the only one I've played here, and I kind of like what I played of it, so it's probably going to get my vote. um it would have been between that and Unicorn Overlord for me, because even though I haven't played it, it's an Atlas game. Frostpunk, I know a little about. I've never heard of Manor Lords, but Age of Mythology Retold, we saw that advertised at an Xbox event earlier this year, and I'm pretty sure that's that like Greek
Yeah.
mythology, Age of Empires
Yes.
style game. So,
I
so I'm gonna vote for Kinutsugami, but I'm gonna predict Age of Mythology. No, no, I'm gonna predict Frostpunk 2 wins because the first one was really popular, and that's my reason.
I am gonna vote for Unicorn Overlord.
Ooh.
Why? Because the name sounds cool.
Fair enough. And what do you predict? What do you think if you had to choose
I
here?
don't know much about any of these games, so
We'll take a shot in the dark.
Frostpunk 2. We'll go with that. Uh, because it looks like it might have a really big fan base. That's my
I do
reason.
know I do know the first one is pretty popular. I think Dylan's played the first one, really liked it.
Okay.
All right. Since you're the family man, you want to take best family game category?
Let's go. Best family game nominees. We have Astrobot, Princess Peach Showtime, Super Mario Party Jamboree, The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, and The Plucky Squire. I am so glad that The Plucky Squire made this nominee.
This isn't the only
Oh
spot
my
it made.
god. Oh, I know it's not. And I'm so glad that it got nominated. It's such a good game. I could go back and play this again.
I am proud to say that um I have played every game on this nominee list.
Nice.
3 of them are Nintendo Switch games.
Yeah, I've played a little bit of Princess Peach Showtime. I have not. I've played a lot of Astrobot.
Mhm.
I haven't played Super Mario Party Jamboree or The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom yet.
I'm looking
Yet.
forward to playing the new Mario Party with you eventually.
Yes,
um
yes, that will be after. I think that'll be after Christmas.
so mm, yeah, this is a rough one for me.
You know what one I'm voting for. I'm voting for the Plucky Squire because one, I've played the entire game. I've beaten it. It holds up. It's so good. But I think I'm gonna vote for the Plucky Squire, but I'm gonna predict. Yeah, I'm gonna predict that Astrobot is gonna sweep the Game Awards.
yeah, so I think not only am I going to cast my vote for Astrobot here, but I'm also going to predict it for Best Family Game. Nintendo games, though, Nintendo has the highest chance of winning this category with 3 games in it and all that, and them being family games. And with some of these not being in other categories, like, they might want to show love to Zelda somewhere, so that probably has a chance. But my reason for predicting Astrobot is I've heard so many stories. Like one of the podcasts I listened to, one of the hosts is a dad, and he talks about like his kid isn't old enough to play games yet. He's like 2 or some. But as he's sitting there like in his kid chair or whatever, and he's playing Astrobot on the TV, and the baby's watching it, the baby is enjoying the spectacle of the game.
That's
He's
awesome.
he's into it, and it's like he's like, I'm sitting there, I'm unlocking these characters, and it's bringing joy to me. It's like something about
That's
that game.
adorable.
Something about that game in general, it just triggers that part of your brain, the little wind-up monkey that goes nuts when numbers go up.
Yes.
It, and it's like every time you find one of the bots and rescue them, that little chimp starts clanging his
Uh-huh.
cymbals. And
Yes.
I think that just translates to everyone, regardless of your age, and if you even know how to hold a controller in the first place.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, I agree with that
eh,
statement. Yeah. That's the
there's
best way
just
to
something
describe
about
it.
it. That being said, though, like even though best family game, sometimes you would think family game might go to something that families can play together. So I think Super Mario Party Jamboree has a high chance there too. What with it being multiplayer and all. But
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna both vote for and cast my prediction on Astrobot here. Uh, Seems like a likely scenario to me.
Okay. Next category.
Uh, you want to take this one too? Best fighting
Yeah,
game.
best fighting game. The nominees we have are Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, Grand Blue Fantasy vs. Rising, Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection Arcade Classics, Multiverses, and Tekken 8.
Yeah, and Multiverses is that free to play one with all the WB owned project characters fighting each other from different things like Looney Tunes, Wonder Woman, Game of Thrones, Batman, Rick and Morty, all kind of shit.
Uh,
It's kind of like a free to play Smash Bros with Warner Brothers
I,
characters.
I isn't it like a live service game though?
In a way, yeah. Um, my prediction is that this is either going to go to Dragon Ball or Tekken 8.
Yeah.
I think. I heard Tekken 8 was one of the best games of the year when it first came out, but as they've started updating it over time, the multiplayer section in particular has kind of lost some of its edge. Like, they've made changes that people aren't happy
Okay.
with. Um, but overall, I've heard good things about it, like, in general. I've even heard some people calling it their game of the year.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
Um, but Dragon Ball Sparking Zero is another, like, I've heard good things about that too.
I'm
I haven't I haven't really heard a lot about the others, so
I'm gonna vote for and predict Dragon Ball Sparking Zero.
okay. Yeah, I kind of figured you were gonna vote for that one because you showed interest in it when we saw trailers for it earlier in the year. You were
Uh-huh.
like, I kind of want to play that.
Yeah.
Um,
It's been a minute since I've picked up a Dragon Ball game.
so I think then I'm gonna both vote for and predict Tekken 8 in this category.
Okay.
Is what I'm gonna go with. I grew up on some of the Tekken games, so I have a little love for them, although I haven't played them in forever. I'm not a big fan of traditional fighting games, but
Right. No
um,
worries.
all right, best RPG. Ooh, okay.
Ooh.
So here we have some big ones here.
Ooh. Okay.
Dragon's Dogma
Okay.
2, um, Elden Ring Shadow of the Erd Tree, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, and Metaphor Rifantasio. So, I have only played Final Fantasy and Metaphor here. I have a strong interest in the Yakuza franchise, but I will it but when I do finally go to play that, I'm going to play them in order, so it's going to be a good long time before I ever touch the Like a Dragon games as they're the more recent
Right.
ones. Um Dragon's Dogma 2 I have not played, but I do want to play at some point though. My mom has played it. I think she finished it and um really enjoyed it. So, and I know a lot of people really liked it when it came out. I listened to a lot of podcast people talking about it, saying how much they liked it. There were certain aspects of it that they didn't like, but overall had a really good experience. So, um, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is kind of divisive. It has done well and it's nominated in a lot of categories, 7 in total, ironically enough. Um, so I won't be surprised if it wins, but there is a lot of the complaints I had about it, about the runtime padding, open world crap, and badly designed side quests and all that, is a shared complaint among a good portion of the fan base. So we'll see.
So yeah, you had a lot to gripe about on that one.
But that doesn't mean I didn't like it overall. I still gave it, I think, an 8 out of 10 in the end. So
Yeah, true. Yeah.
I did like it overall. There's just that game has a speed bump in the middle of it where the progress kind of grinds to a halt and it gets really annoying. It's somewhere between like chapters 9 and 11 and it really pissed me off. And then once I get through that part, it got good again. So
Fair
it's
enough.
just there's a pacing issue in some of the side quests. Some of the side quests are great, but then you have shit where you're like dragging a can to lure a chicken back to its farm, and that kind of shit irritates me because that just feels like a waste of my time. The game feels like it doesn't respect my time sometimes, but then when it does, this is Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is high highs and low lows, if that makes any sense. What it does right, it
It
does
does.
really, really well, and what it does wrong is really bad, you know? So it's like the parts of it that you don't like are really bad, but the parts of it that you do like are really good. So, um, it doesn't really it doesn't swim in the middle of mediocrity. It's got high highs and low lows. And I think because the highs are so high, the lows stand out even more. The bad parts of it stick out like a sore thumb when the rest of it is so good.
Right.
Um, so, ooh, man, this is a tough one for me. I, God, how popular were some of these? This is a rough one to actually predict because every last one of these is super popular and did really well for the most part.
And Elden
Like,
Ring
no,
won Game of the Year that it released.
yes, the original Elden Ring. That's another thing too. Um, it's controversial that Shadow of the Erd Tree is nominated for Game of the Year here. A lot of people are actually kind of upset about that because it's a DLC and not a full game. You literally can't even play it without having finished Elden Ring first. You
Yeah,
know,
that's it shouldn't be in there.
right? So it's kind of a problem. I'm perfectly fine with it being in these other categories, but I'm on the fence about it being in Game of the Year because on the one hand, yeah, it's not a standalone game. It's more of an expansion than a DLC, and it's like $30, so it or $40 or something like that. So it's almost the price of a full game, but like, um, and it's lengthy. It's like a good extra 15 to 20 hours of content, but at the end of the day, it really is just an expansion because it can't be played on its own.
Right.
It doesn't stand alone. But at the same time, I think the fact that it even got nominated kind of stands to the um, the quality of everything else that came out this year. There is a lot of bangers this year, a lot of diamonds in the rough, but I think we overall had a slightly disappointing year, especially compared to last year. So I think that is part of the reason why it got nominated here is because it was up against, not a lot of competition, if I'm being honest. That being said, though, if I had my way for Game of the Year, I would have removed Shadow of the Erd Tree as a nominee and replaced it with the Silent Hill 2 remake. But there's also people saying that remakes shouldn't be eligible either because they're just the same game with new graphics. But I will contest that to a degree. But I think Final Fantasy VII Rebirth actually belongs because it's less of a remake and more of an alternate timeline sequel. Reimagining is probably what I would call it of the original story. I mean, for fuck's sake, in this game, you play as Zack during good portions of it, and he shouldn't even be here right now, So that's, kind of the whole. Anyone who's finished the remake, they understand. They broke the fourth wall and explained it all at the end of the game, so. It's not. This Rebirth is not a remake, it is a alternate timeline reimagining. So I think it counts because it basically is a new game. They change enough that it's completely different. While still following the same story beats. My vote here is going to go to Metaphor Refantasio. I think that's what I'm going to go with for sure. But I'm going to predict... I'm going to predict Dragon's Dogma
Okay.
2. It's a hard one to predict because literally any of these stands an equal chance, but I'm going to predict Dragon's Dogma 2, if for no other reason than because it's the only category it's nominated in, and might grab it for that reason alone.
I'm
Yeah.
I'm placing my vote for Final Fantasy Rebirth because I have played some of Final Fantasy VII Remake and I'm hoping to get to this at some point.
Right. Yeah, you'll like it.
But
And
I'm going to predict.
I know, this is a hard one. Everything here is so popular and loved. There's not a single, with the exception of a few caveats people have with the games themselves, nothing here is really, considered outright
I'm
bad.
gonna predict Elden Ring Shadow of the Erd Tree
It's probably a safe prediction.
because it won Game of the year the source material came out.
Yeah, yes it did. Okay. Next, we have Best Action/Adventure Game, and this is for the games that are combining combat with traversal and puzzle solving. They are your cinematic, story-focused adventure games with action in them.
Yes.
Um, think you're like your Uncharted's, for example, that kind of thing. Um, so here our nominees are Astrobot, Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, Silent Hill 2 remake, Star Wars Outlaws, and The Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom. I am actually going to vote for Star Wars Outlaws here. I think it needs to get some love in some areas. I think this game is highly criminally underrated, in my opinion. I enjoyed what I played of it. It's and now that it's gonna put that patch out, that'll make it more accessible to everybody. Hopefully, more people will play it and also love it. It's not gonna win though, because it was a very controversial game. Granted, I know this award show is professional, so they don't pay attention to the opinions of ignorant bigots who bitch about female protagonists and
Right.
shit like that. But there was a huge a lot of people dropped off this game very quickly because the stealth was so hard. You know, um, so that's part of it. And it had some game breaking bugs too. But I'm still gonna vote for it because I think it's an underrated gem. But it's not gonna win. If I had to give this category to, I don't know if Prince of Persia is gonna take it because the company, that part of Ubisoft that made that game, that they just shut down because the game didn't do the numbers they wanted it to. I'm surprised it's even nominated.
Right.
I don't. Silent Hill 2, they really need to just make a horror category already because calling it an action adventure game is highly misleading.
They really
Um,
do. They need to make a horror category.
it is definitely you're solving puzzles and it's got a story and there is action in it, but
I mean,
when you think
that
when you think Silent Hill 2, you don't think, "Come on guys, let's go on an adventure." Wee,
that
unless you're, Starbomb and doing a song about it. In that case, then yeah. Uh
you know what game I'm surprised didn't get nominated?
hmm.
Until Dawn.
They probably didn't want to give that much attention to something that is just a shot-for-shot remake aside from a few changes. You know what I mean? Notice there's
Yeah,
absolutely no remasters nominated for anything anywhere.
yeah, true.
The only reason Final Fantasy VII and Silent Hill 2 get a pass is because they changed so much that they're basically completely different games. And they're also, keep in mind, those are remakes of games that were on old platforms like PS1 and PS2, so they are like completely rebuilt from the ground up.
Okay,
Whereas
yeah,
un-
fair.
unt- Until Dawn is just a visual upscaling of an already existing thing, and they add some extra cutscenes, but otherwise it's basically the same game.
Okay.
Um,
Alright.
but yeah, like I said, I'm gonna vote for Star Wars Outlaws here. Prediction wise, yeah, I'm gonna predict Astrobot in this one too. I think you're right. I think it's gonna sweep the Game Awards, but you know what? It's probably gonna be one of those cases where it sweeps the Game Awards, but then doesn't win Game of the Year. You know what I mean? Like Red Dead Redemption 2 swept the Game Awards in 2018, but then God of War won Game of the Year.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm gonna vote Star Wars and predict Astrobot Best Action Adventure.
I'm gonna do the exact same. Vote Star Wars Outlaws and predict Astrobot.
I'm surprised you're not voting for Prince of Persia.
I played some of the demo
Mm-hmm.
and I was not impressed.
It is a Metroidvania, so it's not like the old 3D platformer.
That's what I
Um,
was expecting.
Yeah.
I was
No,
not
no.
expecting a side scroller.
Yeah, no, this is a Metroidvania game, and Metroidvanias are almost always side scrollers, like Hollow
Yeah,
Knight.
I was not impressed with the new Prince of Persia.
Yeah, those are the games where you have to. It's making progress is kind of based on finding the right equipment and then going back to areas that you've previously been to move forward. From there once you found the right thing, that kind of thing. But yeah, Metroidvanias aren't really my cup of tea either, unfortunately. But I did respect what I played of it. All right, here we have Best Action Game. You want to take it?
Yes. We've got for Best Action Game. The nominees we have are Black Myth Wukong, Call of Duty Black Ops 6, Helldivers 2, Stellar Blade, and Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine 2.
So, believe it or not, I wouldn't normally do this, but I think I'm actually going to vote for Black Ops 6 here just based on what I've played of the campaign. It's quite fun. I've played some of Stellar Blade as well. I did rent it from Gamefly. I didn't get very far in it, but Stellar Blade is like if Nier Automata was a Souls like. So it is a little difficult. Um I do want to go back to it at some point, but I'm not sure if it would be my first choice here. That being said, though, if I had to pick who I think is actually going to win this category, it's probably either Stellar Blade or Black Myth Wukong.
Yeah, probably.
Best action game. Those are both Souls likes, and that's a very popular thing. And as far as action games go, however, though, Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine 2 did get a pretty big cult following. Like, I heard a decent amount of people talking about how, like, genuinely fun that game is, and it's, like, super underrated, apparently. So who knows? It might. A lot of the stuff here stands a good chance. I think my vote, though. Well, actually, do I want to vote for Black Ops or Stellar Blade? Yeah, I'm gonna vote for Black Ops. Screw it.
I am gonna vote for Black Myth Wukong and predict Black Myth Wukong.
Okay, so you're both voting for and predicting Black Myth Wukong here.
Yes.
I'm gonna vote for Black Ops 6. I'm going to predict Stellar Blade.
Okay.
Yeah. That, yeah.
This
I think
is all you, dude.
Next category is Best VR, Virtual Reality, or AR, Augmented Reality Game. They have Arizona Sunshine Remake, Asgard's Wrath 2, Batman Arkham Shadow, Metal Hellsinger VR, and Metro Awakening. I've only played Asgard's Wrath 2 because it's the only one I have access to. Metro Awakening is on the PSVR 2, and it's part of the Metro series, which is a series I like, but I don't have the PSVR 2. And Batman Arkham Shadow is exclusively on the MetaQuest 3, and I only have the Quest 2. I would love to play it, but Asgard's Wrath 2 is really fun, though, from what I've played of it so far. You're just like a warrior going after Loki. It takes place in like Greek mythology, and you're swinging weapons in real time. You can actually have throwable weapons that you can throw at enemies. Some of the best VR mechanics I've ever experienced because it actually like locks onto enemies when you throw shit and stuff.
Oh,
so
that's awesome.
even if you throw awkward, you're not gonna miss your target. Like as long as you're aiming in their general facility, it'll go for it. So, yeah, it's pretty fun. It's one of those games I didn't get sick at all while playing it either. But then when I got out of the headset and sat down for a minute, it hit me like a fucking ton of bricks out of nowhere. Like I was fine. I was fine the whole time I was playing it, and then the moment I stopped playing is when I was like, ooh. But that's my fault because I've taken like it's been a while since I've done like a big VR game like that. And,
yeah.
I lowered my tolerance for it by not doing it as much as I used to, so I need to get used to it again.
Yeah.
I really want to play Batman Arkham Shadow, but I don't, like I said, don't have the MetaQuest 3. I'd like to see it win, but, since Asgard's Wrath 2 is the only one I played so far, I'm going to vote for that, but I also think it's going to win. Because it's a very popular... Every time I go in the headset on the store and I look at the page for that game, it's got, like, all these accolades of, like, 5 stars, 10 out of 10, perfect game, like one of the most popular VR games ever made. So I'm going to go ahead and assume that one's going to win. And here's a rare case, by the way, of a game that came out last December being nominated. Because remember, the cutoff point is November. So, and very rarely do they ever pay attention to December games, but this one, it actually is so good that I think that's why it squeezed its way in here, and that's why I also think it's going to win.
Okay.
Quite honestly. I kind of wanted to vote for Batman because, he's Batman, but I haven't played it, so, I can actually speak on Asgard's Wrath too. So that's going to get my vote, and I think it's going to win. Quite honestly.
So, because Asgard is a thing, That's getting my vote as well, and I'm gonna
I
predict it too.
I know you like your Greek mythology.
Yes,
Well, this no, not Greek, Norse. This is Norse mythology.
Norse.
Sorry.
Yes, Norse mythology. Yes.
Yes. Okay. Now we have best mobile game. Which, by the way, that's not just mobile phones. Mobile games are also on Nintendo Switch, um, and some of them are even on consoles too. But we have AFK Journey, Balatro, the roguelike card game that's also up for Game of the Year, Pokemon trading card game Pocket, uh, Wuthering Waves, and Zenless Zone Zero, the next game by Hoyoverse, the ones behind Genshin Impact and Honkai Star Rail.
Okay.
So, dollars to donuts, Balatro wins this category.
Yeah.
I just feel like that's a guarantee. Um, that's my immediate prediction is Balatro is going to absolutely dominate this category.
See,
I could be wrong. My second guess would be Zenless Zone Zero, just because of who the developer is.
yeah. So I have Pokemon trading card game Pocket on my
Uh huh.
phone, and it's really cool. Like every 12 hours, you can open a another like booster pack of cards, and you have like a collection of Pokemon cards in your phone.
Yeah, it is pretty
It's
cool.
so cool. So
I've played some of it.
I'm gonna vote for Pokemon Trading Card Game Pocket and predict Balatro.
And I'm gonna vote for Zenless Zone Zero because I've played some of it and I like the Hoyoverse games. Genshin Impact was kind of like Zelda Breath of the Wild mixed with a Tales of game. Honkai Star Rail was like a turn-based RPG Final Fantasy style game in a sci-fi setting, and this one is kind of it's hard to explain. This one is like a apocalyptic kind of heist setting where you play as characters that get transferred into a different area and they have to fight off these like demon creatures in order to get back to the real world. And that one's more of like a real-time action combat game. So each time they do something a little different, and these games are all completely free to play, and they can all be downloaded and played on PlayStation on the PS5. Um, and Genshin Impact just made its way to Xbox recently too, so they're expanding. So yeah, much like you, I'm going to predict Balatro, but I'm going to vote for Zenless Zone Zero here because I do enjoy my anime style action RPGs, especially when they're
Mm-hmm.
free. You know, and this is Hoyoverse is really good at making games that feel like full games, like full length RPGs that you can play completely for free. And you might be wondering what's the catch? So far I haven't ran into one in any of them. The gotcha mechanics are almost exclusively for multiplayer shit. So, but the single player campaign can be played pretty much from start to finish without spending a dime. And I appreciate
Nice.
that about them. Best debut indie game. This is the category for an indie game that is this developer's very first game ever.
They did it with
Um,
Stray, and they did it with the Plucky Squire. They made a good decision to put the Plucky Squire on PlayStation Plus day one.
yes,
I loved
agree.
this game. I'm going to cast my vote for the Plucky Squire, and I'm going to predict Balatro.
Yeah, I see Balatro taking home a bunch of awards here too, but um, I'm actually going to take a different route here, I think. I'm also going to vote for the Plucky Squire in this one, as I agree that it deserves it. I have played some of Pacific Drive, by the way. It was a Gamefly rental, and that is kind of like a survival game where it takes place in Well, basically, it takes place in a sort of apocalyptic world where there are these like alien creatures, and your job is to kind of like drive from point A to point B, but since there's survival mechanics, every once in a while you have to stop places to like repair your vehicle, put new tires on it, put gas in it, rest, find food, stuff like that. And it's got accessibility options. You can turn all that shit off if you just
Hmm.
want to enjoy it like a normal game, but it kind of defeats the purpose, but that is an option there. Um, and I thought it was pretty interesting what I played of it. Not exactly my cup of tea, but I think it's very ambitious, and a lot of people
Yeah.
did like it. My vote's going to be for the Plucky Squire, but I'm actually going to assume Animal Well wins this, and the reason why is because Animal Well is a Metroidvania game created by a popular
Okay.
YouTuber named Donkey, and I think that might kind of give it a little bit of a boost here. Um, so yeah, uh, so yeah, Plucky Squire vote for both of us, but you predict Balatro, I
Okay.
predict Animal Well on that one. I think. All right, now this one is best indie game that's not debut, and looks like we have a couple of repeats. Would you like to? Yeah, so you can be the best debut indie game and the best indie game if your game is that good.
Right.
Would you like to read these ones?
Yeah. Best independent game nominations are Animal Well, Balatro, Lorelei and the Laser Eyes, Neva, and UFO 50.
I'm voting for Neva here. It's the only one I've played some of, and it's got such a beautiful art style, beautiful story, really fun gameplay. It is a side scroller, but don't let that deter you because it's not a Metroidvania or anything. It's you and your little wolf companion are traveling, across the right side of the screen. I mean, if you like Mario and Sonic, you can't really complain about side scrollers in general.
Right. Yeah. No. Definitely not.
Um, but yeah, but this one's not a Metroidvania. It's just it's basically an art game. It's more of an experience than anything. Um, if it has two difficulties, normal, which makes combat just like normal combat, and easy, which gives you like basically makes you invincible, so you can just enjoy the story. You still have to do the combat, but you can't lose. There's like a story difficulty that makes it so you can just enjoy the narrative. And you and your little wolf companion are traveling, and sometimes you have to like jump up platforms to help the little wolf companion get to different areas, and it's one of those like animal leads you, you lead them while solving puzzles and getting to the goal kind of games. And
Mhm.
occasionally little shadow hands pop out of the ground that you got to hit with your sword. And you gain like little power ups as you go. It's a very beautiful game. Um, and I'm gonna vote for it. But I'm gonna go ahead and predict that Balatro's gonna take this one. I think.
Yeah. I'm gonna do the same. I'm gonna vote for Neva and predict Balatro.
All right.
Mm,
Best community support. Why don't you read this one to us?
yes. Best community port. Wow. Best community support. Nominees.
This is, but by the way, for this category is for developers that have like outstanding support for their community. They're transparent with the fans. They're responsive to feedback. They're inclusive of social media activity, and they're constantly pushing out updates to keep the game going and respond to the feedback that fans have given.
All right. So we have for best community support, we've got Baldur's Gate 3, Final Fantasy 14, Fortnite, Helldivers 2, and No Man's Sky. I'm going to vote Fortnite and predict Baldur's Gate 3. Simply because it won Game of the Year last year.
Hmm. Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. Um, Yeah, I can't predict Helldivers 2 here because, like I said, I've actually seen people say that they're not happy with some of the updates that game has gotten lately, so I'm surprised it was even nominated here. Um, I think, though, that I'm going to vote for Final Fantasy 14 just because it's Final Fantasy, but like you, I think I'm going to predict that Baldur's Gate 3 takes this one.
Yeah.
Just because it is so recent and they've put so much work into it within the amount of time that it's been out, you know?
Yeah.
So, yes. So you voted Fortnite, right?
Yes.
And I said Final Fantasy, and then we both think Baldur's Gate 3.
Yes.
All right. Next, we have Best Ongoing Game, which is basically, a live service game that is still going. There's no other way to explain that. We have Destiny 2, Diablo 4, Final Fantasy 14, Fortnite, and Helldivers 2.
So
Um,
I have.
yeah.
I'm surprised Grand Theft Auto Online has never been nominated in this category, or has it?
I think it has. I think it was at one point.
I don't.
What's interesting is this is where Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree should have gone because this is where Phantom Liberty went for Cyberpunk 2077 last year.
I agree with that.
That or they just need to make a best DLC/expansion category.
Yes.
I mean, they've added other like the best adaptation was actually a new category they added last year.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's not but they did, they changed the rules this year on their website to say that DLC and expansions are eligible to be nominated for these different categories now. So
Fair enough.
people are saying that that's pretty much saying that Erdtree is going to win Game of the Year, but I don't think that's necessarily true. 100%. It does set a precedent for it, but I don't think that's a guaranteed win. Just because they changed the rules to make it eligible.
Fair enough.
But yeah, I'm gonna vote once again for Final Fantasy 14 here, but I'm gonna go out on a limb and I think this one's either gonna go to Helldivers 2 or Diablo 4.
So I'm gonna vote Fortnite, and I'm going to predict Diablo 4.
Yeah, I gotta plant my flag on one of them. I think I'm also gonna predict Diablo 4 for this one.
Okay.
We'll see how that goes. The Games for Impact Award, one of my favorite categories. These are for the games with a thought-provoking, pro-social meaning or message. A forward-thinking message, proper LGBTQI plus representation, disability representation, or or even just the story in general had a like it says thought-provoking or pro-social message in it.
Mm-hmm.
So games that deal with things like mental health and serious stories, themes like death and stuff like that. So we have Closer the Distance, Indica, Neva, Life is Strange Double Exposure, Senua's Saga Hellblade 2, and Tales of Kenzura Zao. I can already tell you why the last three are in there. Indica's kind of hard to explain because I've played that one, but I haven't finished it yet, and it's really the story, like what exactly is going on in that game is very hard to explain. But it's very much it's a game about a nun who feels out of place among the other nuns. She's kind of a shun and outcast, and she's dealing with some mental health issues that project themselves as old arcade games that you kind of play in her mind, while you're going through this game doing other stuff, and apparently she's being tortured by demons, but whether it's actually demons or some kind of metaphor remains to be seen. But and Life is Strange Double Exposure, a lot of pro forward thinking pro social stuff in the Life is Strange franchise. That's um no secret. Hellblade 2 is all about mental health, shrouded in a Norse mythology metaphor, much like the first game. And Tales of Kenzura Zao was a game that the guy who made it made after his father passed away, and it was kind of his way of expressing his story. So,
That's okay. Yeah.
um, I think Life is Strange Double Exposure is hardcore getting my vote here, like hands down. That's not even a competition for me, and that's saying a lot because the first Hellblade was my personal game of the year in 2017. So, um, but yeah, this new Life is Strange game is something else, man. It's just up there. If I had to predict, though, I actually think Life is Strange might win this category. If I'm being honest.
I'm gonna vote for Life is Strange Double Exposure. However, I am going to predict Senua's Saga Hellblade 2.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
That's an interesting prediction. Um, all right, innovation and accessibility. This is, for the games that have really good accessibility options to make it easier to play. you know, options to make it so disabled people can play easier, people who are colorblind can play easier, people on lower skill levels can play easier, that kind of thing. Call of Duty Black Ops 6, Diablo 4, Dragon Age The Veilguard, Prince of Persia The Lost Crown, and Star Wars Outlaws are all here. I'm just going to go ahead and say I'm going to vote for Dragon Age here simply because it's the only category in the entire show it's nominated in, and I want to give it some love somewhere. So,
Fair enough.
that's my choice for it. I didn't know Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown had accessibility options. Huh. I wonder if you knew that, if any of those would have made the game more enjoyable for you.
No, I don't think it would have. I'm so used to the old style of Prince of Persia.
Fair enough. If I had to predict, though, well, let's see. Star Wars Outlaws is coming up with an update to make the game easier for people, so I don't think it has the accessibility options it thinks it does right out the gate. You know what, though? Yeah, my vote's for Dragon Age. If I had to predict, though, I think the Prince of Persia game is going to take this one, because I do think that it has the most accessibility options in it out of everything listed here, just from what I've seen personally.
Okay.
Although I will say, Black Ops 6 is the most accessible Call of Duty game I've ever played, personally. Not just in terms of gameplay mechanics, but just whatever they did to the story and how it feels playing it. This one makes a person who's not a Call of Duty fan actually like it. So,
Yeah, I'm gonna vote for Call of Duty and predict Call of Duty.
fair enough. So yeah, for me, yeah, vote Dragon Age and predict Prince of Persia. Easy enough. All right, now we have best performance. So this goes to the actor or actress that had the best performance in these games. Would you like to read these ones?
Yes. For best performance, we have Brianna White for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Hannah Tell, Life is Strange Double Exposure, Humberly Gonzalez for Star Wars Outlaws, Luke Roberts for Silent Hill 2, and Melinda Jugan.
Melina Jurgens.
Melina Jurgens for
Yeah.
Senua's Saga Hellblade 2.
So just so everyone knows who the characters they play is important. So Brianna White is Aerith in Seven Rebirth. Hannah Tell is Max in Life is Strange. Humberly Gonzalez is uh fuck, I forget her name. The main character in Star Wars Outlaws. Um why is her name escaping me right now? But it's the character you play as. Luke Roberts is James, the main character in Silent Hill 2 remake, and Melina Jurgens is Senua in the Hellblade games. So all of them except for Brianna White play the protagonist. Brianna White plays Aerith. Um, Melina Jurgens actually won in 2017 for her portrayal of Senua in the first Hellblade. I remember that. It was considered phenomenal acting for the time because she put her real life mental health pain into the performance. And that does stand out here too, but it's kind of it's kind of a one trick pony situation where the sequel is just more of the same rather than building upon it, you know. Um so they all do a phenomenal job here, but I think I'm going to vote for I'm going to both vote for and predict that Brianna White as Aerith is going to win this category.
And agree and do the same.
That is just like, I think that is the most likely outcome. Her Aerith is really good. She does a really good Aerith. And she's another one of those video game actors that's getting involved with the fan base. She's actually done like live streams of herself playing the game and stuff like that. So, all right, best audio design. This is not soundtrack. Just to be fair, this is the game with the best audio in it. We're talking like spooky atmosphere sounds, noises in the distance in horror games, gunfire all around you in action games, that kind of thing. The nominees are Astrobot, Call of Duty Black Ops 6, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Hellblade 2, and Silent Hill 2 Remake. My vote for this is either going to go to Hellblade 2 or Silent Hill 2 because I think when it comes to best audio design, horror games are always the ones that nail it because the audio of horror games, especially when you're wearing headphones, is a huge part of the experience and what makes it horror. When you're going through those creepy hallways and like far off in the distance you hear like squishy noises or banging noises and you're like, oh fuck, what's that? And it kind of makes you nervous to keep going. I think that's horror games excel at audio design more than anything else for that reason. And I think as much as I love the voices in her head aesthetic of the Hellblade games, again, this is another, like, they've been there, done that already with the first one, so in the second one, it's just more of the same. It's not really new or innovative anymore. So I'm gonna vote for Silent Hill 2 here because the sound effects in that game, the atmosphere, the music, the oppressive feeling, like this is a game where I'm loving every bit of it, but continue to struggle to move forward because it's just so oppressive feeling, and the audio design is a huge part of what makes that. Even without headphones, honestly, it's so well done. So I'm going to have to give that to that one. But if I had to predict who wins this category, that's a hard one because these all have great audio design. But I'm going to predict Hellblade 2 gets it because of the voices in her head mechanic. I think it still stands out, is a unique thing that no other game does. So that I'm going to predict that one wins that. How about you?
I'm gonna vote for Astrobot, but like you, predict Senua's Saga Hellblade 2 wins.
Okay. Now we have Best Score in Music, aka Best Soundtrack. This one is focused on the music of the games. Would you like to take it?
Yes. Best score and music have Astrobot. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Metaphor Refantasio, Silent Hill 2, and Stellar Blade.
As much praise as I just gave to the music being part of the sound in Silent Hill 2, horror games are never going to win best soundtrack because it's all just like slow violins and, and like ambience music, and it's not super memorable. It's just there to add to the atmosphere. the the games that win this category are games that have like the most memorable soundtracks, the bangers, the bops, the stuff everyone's talking about. Um I think so. For that reason alone, I think the two strongest competitors in this category are Final Fantasy VII and Metaphor ReFantazio, because everyone is talking about Metaphor's battle theme. But Final Fantasy VII is a Square Enix game, and Square Enix games always have amazing soundtracks. Even people who didn't like this game all agree that the soundtrack is amazing. The soundtrack is one of the best parts of the game.
I'm
honestly
gonna vote for Astrobot, but I am going to predict Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
And I also think Astrobot has a good soundtrack too, especially the way that it remixes music from PlayStation games when you play those levels. Like just the way that they throw Kratos saying "boy" in that one song before the beat drops in that level is genius. Yeah, it's a very fun soundtrack, and like the tree, the song, the tree sings the song before you run into its mouth, in that one level, and stuff like that. That being said, though, as much as I love the soundtrack for Metaphor and all Persona games and stuff, to me, almost nothing tops Square Enix music, and specifically Final Fantasy soundtracks. I just think they're like the best of the best that that video game music has to offer in general. So not only is that going to be my vote, but it's also going to be my prediction for that category as well. Best art direction. This is, for the game with the best not necessarily graphics, but best like art style, like creative art style or visual and technical achievement in like artistic design and animation. And here we have Astrobot, Black Myth Wukong, Elden Ring Shadow of the Erd Tree, Metaphor ReFantazio, and Neva. And if I think anything on this list deserves to be here more than the others, it's definitely Metaphor and Neva, because they both have unique art styles compared to the rest of these. Astrobot looks really good, don't get me wrong, but it's practically comparable to the best Mario games on Nintendo Switch in terms of shiny visuals. Whereas Neva and Metaphor both go out of their way to do something different and unconventional, and I think that deserves more recognition, personally. And Black Myth Wukong and Elden Ring just look like every other Souls-like game, honestly, to me anyway. I love the stylized art style of Metaphor, though, so I think that's actually going to be my vote for this category for best art direction. And honestly, I'm gonna make a wild prediction and say that it actually even wins this category. I know that's probably not likely, but I'm gonna guess.
I am going to vote Metaphor ReFantazio.
He does have such a cool art style.
And I'm going to predict... I'm going to predict Metaphor ReFantazio as well.
Okay.
It does have a cool art style. So
All
much
right.
that I might actually want to play it.
Yeah, and if you enjoy Pokemon, then you're not completely against turn-based combat, so...
Exactly.
And it does use a lot of the same things, like elemental weaknesses, like if an enemy's weak to fire, then you want to try to use a fire-based attack, that kind of thing. So...
Nibbler,
all right.
what are you staring at?
Would you like to take Best Narrative?
Yes. My
We're
cat's
getting we're very close to the end here.
best narrative nominees we have are Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth, Metaphor Refantasio, Senua's Saga, Hellblade 2, and Silent Hill 2.
So I'm going to actually vote for Silent Hill 2 here because the story of Silent Hill 2, they don't change much in the remake, but the story of it is really good because it is about a guy who goes to this town looking for his missing wife who he knows is already dead, but he just something draws him here anyways. And then everyone who's stuck in this town, him included, the things that they see and go through are all manifestations of their own personal demons. And it's got some great twists. It's got some great like visual metaphors for what the characters go through, and it's got 6 different endings depending on how you choose to play the character. You know, like if you allow yourself to be low on health a lot and you don't care about yourself and you don't like fight back a lot, you might get the ending where James unalives himself and gives up on everything. If you pay a lot of attention to Maria when you're with her and go out of your way to, you know, like save her from monsters and stuff, you might get the ending where you leave town with her. But if you don't pay a lot of attention to her or you let her get attacked by monsters a lot and stuff, you might get the ending where you leave town with the little girl instead. There's so many possibilities. You know, and then when you replay the game, there's hidden items you can find that unlock even other more endings. One where you get abducted by aliens, one where you find a secret room and find out that a Shiba Inu is controlling the whole thing, and other stupid shit like that. So, it's crazy. I shit you not, there's actually an ending to a secret ending to Silent Hill 2, and they kept it in the remake where you can find a hidden room where you go in and there's a fucking dog sitting there on a control panel with a headset, and it just reveals that this whole thing's been controlled by a dog the whole
What the
time.
hell?
You know, I know it's weird. It's weird. The goofy endings are considered non-canonical, like the secret endings, but like there are like 3 like canonical endings you can
Okay.
get. Yeah, 2 endings where you leave, and who you leave with depends on how you play the game, or 1 ending where you unalive yourself at the end. So, depending on the shit that you do. So, I'm gonna go ahead and give Silent Hill 2 the best narrative here as my vote, but my prediction is that it's probably gonna go to Final Fantasy VII Rebirth for their ballsy changes to the story of the original. Is it controversial and divisive? Yes, but did it also did they do it well? They did, in my opinion, story-wise anyways. The story is one of the best parts of that game next to soundtrack. So, it's just some of the gameplay aspects that suck. So, yeah, vote for Silent Hill 2, predict Final Fantasy VII. What about you?
I'm gonna do the same. Vote for Silent Hill 2 and predict Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
Ooh, interesting. All right. All right. Best game direction. This is usually the penultimate category. This is the award that's given to the game studio that had the most creative vision and innovation in game design and direction and stuff like that. You may remember last year I gave this to Alan Wake 2 for the fact that they decided to, do shit like throw musical numbers in the middle of a horror game and other innovative creative stuff like that.
Uh-huh.
So, so this goes to something that really pushes that envelope. I don't think I can rightfully give this to honestly, I'm going to vote for and predict Astrobot in this category because I think it's the only one that kind of like brings any real level of innovation to the table. I will argue that Balatro being a roguelike card game is pretty innovative, but Metaphor Refantasio is just another Persona game, and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is... The alternate timeline thing is cool, but not exactly innovative when multiverses are at their peak right now in media. You know what I mean? Like, we're pretty oversaturated on multiverses, and that game starts going heavy into some multiverse shit near the end. So
Fair enough.
I'm not sure if innovation is the right word. Um, so I think it's really between, and Black Myth Wukong and Elden Ring again are just Souls-like. So I really think it's between Astrobot and Balatro here,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna both vote for and actually, you know what? I'm gonna vote Astrobot, but I'm gonna predict Balatro
I'm
in
gonna
this category.
vote for and predict Astrobot.
Yes. Okay. And
We finally have Game of the Year.
yeah, we come to the coup de grace. Would you like to read these?
For Game of the Year, recognizing a game that delivers the absolute best experience across all creative and technical fields, we have Astrobot, Balatro, Black Myth Wukong, Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erd Tree, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and Metaphor Refantasio.
So I'm gonna go out on a limb here and just right out the gate, I'm going to assume that enough they've got enough backlash at even nominating Shadow of the Erd Tree that it might not win.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% on that, but I think, I think they might backpedal on that one a little bit. My personal vote here is going to Astrobot. Out of everything here, I think it's the only game that's completely flawless. Any complaint or frustrations I may have had with it was due to my own lack of skill and not a problem with the game itself. So
I'm going to do the same. Vote for and predict Astrobot.
now I'm voting for Astrobot. I'm not sure if that's my prediction or not. I think Metaphor might be too niche. I think Elden Ring being a DLC kind of pushes it. I think Balatro being a roguelike. I think Balatro and Astrobot are both going to sweep, but I don't think they're going to win Game of the Year. Just due to the limitations of their audience. Astrobot does have a strong
I'm going to change my prediction.
but I'm actually going to predict Black Myth Wukong wins the Game of the Year.
Yeah, I was to say right before you even said it, I'm like, yeah, you're right. I'm probably gonna change my prediction to Black Myth Wukong.
I would like to see Astrobot win, and I won't be surprised if it does. If I will be genuinely, like, my jaw would be on the floor if Metaphor Refantasio somehow won this category. Like, I don't think there's any way in hell. I'm skeptical of Shadow of the Erd Tree because of the backlash, but that didn't stop them from giving Game of the Year The Last of Us Part 2. But that was an actual new game, even though it was divisive.
That's a fair point, yeah.
Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, I think the three most likely answers here are Astrobot, Black Myth, and Final Fantasy. It's going to be one of those. But considering it won at the Golden Joysticks, and Souls-like games often seem to win Game of the Year here, I'm going to give it to Black Myth Wukong as my prediction. But I'm going to vote for Astrobot. Is where I'm going to put that. I don't know if Balatro takes this one. It wouldn't be the first indie game to win or even be nominated, but those don't usually... I don't see a roguelike card game taking home Game of the Year
definitely
overall.
Not.
But I've been surprised before, so I suppose
Yes.
we will see. Anyways, though, and that is all of the categories. We've casted our votes, and we've made our predictions. So, before we wrap up, we really quickly want to make our predictions for what we think is going to be announced this year. What are we going to see? Like you said earlier, I think it's very, very possible that we get a new Grand Theft Auto 6 trailer.
Yes.
Um,
A trailer, a new trailer, and or a release date, and pre-orders.
Yeah, it's very likely. I highly predict it. Apparently, Neil Druckmann, the head of Naughty Dog, has been busy working on something for 4 years. So I think we might see that here. Maybe there'll be something there. I predict Hideo Kojima to come on stage and talk about one of his many projects. We're either going to get another look at Death Stranding 2 or a better look at one of his other two things he's working on, like OD.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I feel like we're gonna get that. Jeff Keighley loves Hideo Kojima. There's no way he doesn't have him
No,
on.
there's
You know,
no way.
he's gonna be there. I feel. And I think we might see another look at Judas, the new game from the former Bioshock developers. At least I'm hoping we do. I think I have a feeling we might get an update on that. I'm thinking. And hopefully, maybe an update on the next Mass Effect. On my wish list, I want to see an update for the next Mass Effect and maybe something about Kingdom Hearts 4. But they just delayed the new mobile game Missing Link recently, so I think we're in for a long wait in it. So, uh, but maybe not. There are different people in the company working there. Do you have any wish list items, something that you would love to see happen here?
I would like to see more on the Dark Pictures anthology. The next installation of Dark Pictures anthology.
Oh, Directive 2080. Okay, I was gonna say
Yes.
we did get an update for that. Was it a new trailer? Either at was it like State of Play, Gamescom, something like that recently, right? We got that trailer that showed the lady, one of the characters you play as. It looked good,
Yeah.
but yeah, I would also like to see a little more of that too. So, um, yeah, outside of that, though, the industry's been pretty tight-lipped on what's coming next. You know, PlayStation's been pretty quiet about any of their big major franchises and stuff. So, you know, I'm hoping we get some surprises here. There's not really a lot of rumors or likelihoods to go off of besides stuff we kind of already know about. So we'll see. I'm looking forward to being pleasantly surprised. Hopefully, with with what comes out, stuff I would have never possibly imagined. You know, like I would have never guessed a Lego Horizon game before that was announced. You know what I mean?
Uh huh.
Like that was never on my bingo card. um, so all right, well, that's it then. That is our votes and predictions for this year's Game Awards. Folks, tune in to our next episode after the Game Awards to see if we were right. And and we'll be tuning in to the Game Awards on Thursday, December 12th to see if we were right and who wins and all that. And then we'll do an episode discussing the winners, how we felt about them, and what we were right about, wrong about, and we'll even have a special guest for that one, hopefully, if things still pan out that way. So, if you're watching this on YouTube, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below about, who you think's going to take home the gold in each of these categories and what you'd like to see happen. And smash that like button as well, or leave a comment on Spotify, or send me an email at podcastoversoul@gmail.com, or you can message me on Twitter for now at Oversoul53, but I'm still thinking of moving to Blue Sky because honestly, fuck Twitter these days. So
You can find me on Twitter at TheGamingFiend1 and over on TikTok at TheGamingFiend1. I literally, as you were talking, went and changed both of those.
wow, okay. All right. Well, that's it for this episode. We'll see y'all in a few weeks after the Game Awards. Have a happy Thanksgiving, and we'll catch you next time.
Bye. Oh, okay. Oh, ooh, oh, I. Hi. So I was looking down the hall, and Flynn was coming down the hall, and Nibbler was closer to the room, and as Flynn was coming up the hall, Nibbler turned to her side and arched her back, and it was still moving. It's fucking funny. I've never seen her do that before. Oh,